Chapter 386. Early in the morning, the fog lingered in Lanyan City. Qin Yin accompanied Lin Muyu out of the Zetian Palace under the protection of 4 female officers of Zetian Palace. The battle was imminent. Lin Muyu was dressed in a military uniform. The dark blue Empire's senior military uniform was covered with heavy silver armor. A white cloak was draped over her back and a silver helmet was tucked under her armpit. She said with a smile, "Xiaoyin, you don't need to send us off. We will march lightly and arrive at Cuckoo City in a day." "Well, you must be careful." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of reluctance. "Don't worry." Lin Muyu was full of confidence. "I have dealt with the demon race. Moreover, the one who occupied the Qinling Mountains was the bold but foolish Lei Chong, not the wise and brave Qianfeng. There is nothing to be afraid of. Instead, you have to pay attention to the situation of the steel wall along the Yidao River and be on guard against Qianfeng's large-scale attack on Cangnan Province from Winterfrost City. "Well, I know." Qin Yin smiled intimately. She walked forward and opened her arms to gently embrace Lin Muyu's neck. She whispered in his ear, "I will miss you." Lin Muyu's heart was pounding as he smelled the girl's delicate fragrance. There were many ministers watching. Behind him, the 3 generals, Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and Fengxi, laughed. "Commander, when are we leaving?" "Immediately." Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yin awkwardly. Qin Yin left his embrace and smiled with a red face. She said, "I will wait for you in Lanyan City. I look forward to your triumphant return." "Yes." Lin Muyu turned over and mounted the horse. She pulled the reins and said, "Let's go." Wei Chou immediately led hundreds of Longdan Army Camp's elite cavalry and slowly marched toward the south gate of Lanyan City. Feng Jixing followed with Zhang Wei and Luo Yu, the 2 deputy commanders. "Yu, Planet Earth Province is Duke Lan's territory. You must be careful when you go there." Feng Jixing said seriously, "The guards of Cold Star City and Bugu City are all Duke Lan's people. They may not be friendly to you. You have to learn how to protect yourself." Lin Muyu nodded. Feng Jixing pondered for a moment before saying, "I will personally supervise the provisions, equipment, and other supplies of the Longdan Army Camp. I will then have Zhang Wei personally lead 5,000 Imperial Guardsmen to transport them. In addition, Luo Yu will lead 10,000 Imperial Guardsmen to the southern border of the Northern Ridge Province. They will be ready to support you at any time. It will only take half a day to reach Bugu City from there." "Thank you, Brother Feng. I will be careful." "When you go to Bugu City this time, you might encounter demons and people of Iha country. What do you plan to do?" "The demons are our mortal enemies. We must fight them when we meet them. As for Iha country," Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold. Long Qianlin single-handedly caused Brother Chu Huayin's death. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. I saw how Iha country massacred Lanyan City. Don't worry, I know what to do. Then I can rest assured. Feng Jixing looked at him deeply and said, "You never trust the people of Iha country. Never try to become their friend. Kill if you can. Don't be benevolent." "Understood." Lin Muyu smiled. "I am a person who has been sleeping in death for 3 years. I have experienced the pain of losing my family. Don't worry, Lin Muyu is no longer the Lin Muyu of the past. Wait for my triumphant return. I will treat you to a drink." "All right." Feng Jixing didn't send them off after they left the south gate. After all, he was the commander of the Imperial Guardsmen. He couldn't lose his duty. Outside the gate, the 20,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan Army Camp were ready in the fog. The soldiers' eyes were cold and silent. Their war horses were also very silent. When Lin Muyu rode past, everyone tacitly turned their horses around and galloped away from Lanyan City with their commander. At the rear, the grain convoy dispatched by Minister of War Xueling moved slowly. However, Bugu City was only 700 miles away from Lanyan City, not as far away as Winterfrost City, so grain wouldn't be too big a problem. In the fog, the official road was full of dense sounds of hooves. The armors and weapons of the soldiers of the Longdan Army Camp were all brand new. The army that Lin Muyu had spent a lot of money to build could be called the strongest cavalry regiment in the empire. Banners were flying all over the sky. The caravans along the way gave way to the Longdan army camp from a distance. Watching the strong soldiers galloping past, their faces were full of relief and joy. They knew that this was the army of the empire, an army that protected the people and would never be as brutal as the Iha country and the Devil tribe. The massacre in Lanyan City made the people of the city submit to the Qin family. They passed by many villages and small cities along the way. Until it was almost dusk, a towering city stood in the plains under the setting sun and was surrounded by thousands of villages. It was the capital of the Earthstar province, Cold Star City. The Longdan army camp had galloped for a day and had to rest and resupply outside Cold Star City. Moreover, the letter of you had long been sent to Cold Star City, so there were many soldiers of Cold Star City outside the city. Smoke curled up. The Spiritual Fire Division had cooked porridge for the Longdan army camp to rest and eat outside the city. Takshu was fast. Lin Muyu arrived at the city first and ordered, "Dismount and get ready. We will set off in an hour." Yes. Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Fengshi and the others dismounted one after another and passed down the order. The cavalry of the Longdan army camp stopped at Cold Star City. As soon as the Longdan army camp arrived, the gate of Cold Star City slowly opened and a row of cavalry galloped in. The leader was about 50 years old with 3 golden stars on his collar. He was also a high-ranking general. His face was covered with scars and he was obviously a person who was good at fighting. After dismounting, he said respectfully, "This general is the governor of Earthstar Province and the commander of Cold Star Army, Tang Shi. Greetings to Commander Yu." This was a member of the Tang family and also a feudal lord who was arranged by Tang Lan to guard Earthstar Province here. Lin Muyu immediately put the bowl of porridge in her hand on the table and respectfully cupped her fists. "Lin Muyu greets Commander Tang Shi." Tang Shi laughed and said, "I have only heard of the fame of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen before. Now that I have seen Commander Yu with my own eyes, I am really shocked. You are really a brave general of our great Qin." "Commander Tang Shi, you flatter me," Lin Muyu said with a smile. "Commander Tang Shi, it is really hard for you to guard Earthstar Province and the northern gate for the Empire. Commander Yu, you are too serious." Tang Shi said, 2 days ago, the demon race broke through the Qinling fortress guarded by Long Qinlin. The Iha nation was defeated, so the entire Qinling mountains almost became the territory of the demon race. Our scouts reported that the traces of the demon race's armored demon corps have appeared on the Qinling mountains less than 50 miles away from Bugu City. I have already sent 10,000 elites of the Cold Star Army to guard Bugu City. Now that Commander Yu is here, we can ensure that nothing goes wrong. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Commander Tang Shi, how many soldiers are there in Bugu City now?" "There are many in the city. Together with the 10,000 people of the Cold Star Army, there are about 20,000 soldiers. Once there is a war, I will dispatch 40,000 elites and 30,000 new soldiers in Cold Star City. Please rest assured, Commander Yu." "How many soldiers do the demon race have?" The Thunder Rush army of the demon race is busy killing the cities in the 3 southern provinces of the Iha nation that are not protected by the steel wall. They have no time to care about the Empire. Therefore, Commander Yu, don't worry. They will leave no more than 10,000 armor demons in the Qinling Mountains. That's still a very terrifying force. Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while, then said, "Commander Tang Shi, if possible, please dispatch another 20,000 soldiers to Bugu City to help defend. Once the opportunity is ripe, we will attack Qinling Mountains and take the initiative. Maybe we can also take back the cities adjacent to Qinling Mountains in the Swift White Province." Tang Shi's eyes lit up. "Commander Yu, you want to attack the Iha nation?" "The Iha nation is just a group of traders. Their land belongs to the Empire. We are just taking back the lost land of the Empire. Before I came, Her Highness gave me an order to act according to the circumstances. As long as the conditions permit, we can attack and defend." With that, Lin Muyu took a deep look at Tang Shi and said with a smile, "Although you are Duke Lan's man, You are also a soldier of the Empire. I don't think I need to say which is the greater contribution, the defense of the Earthstar province or the recovery of the lost land plundered by the Iha nation. Tang Shi's eyes lit up. I am willing to listen to Commander Yu's orders. Good. Dispatch another 20,000 elites to Bugu City. Listen to my orders. Once it is done, I will ask for your credit in front of Her Highness. Yes. By the time Lin Muyu finished the bowl of porridge on and off, 1 hour had passed. The 20,000 elite cavalrymen in the Longdan army camp were ready. Lin Muyu mounted the horse and gave the order. The army once again set foot on the official road and headed straight for Bugu City at the southern border of the empire. More than 2 hours later, a few scouts from Bugu City appeared on the official road to welcome them. Not long after, they arrived at Bugu City. Bugu City was the same as the Five Valleys city. Because of farming and fishing, it was rich and populous. However, it was only a small rich city and could not be compared to the 7 great cities. It was even inferior to the Cold Star City. The city was not considered too sturdy. Before Lin Muyu entered the city, the Bugu City's garrison general had already come out to welcome her. He was still the general of the Seven Seas City's army. However, he was very polite and did not target her like Tang Lu and Tang Tian. After entering Bugu City, Lin Muyu fully took over the defense of the city and all the important political affairs. This time, Qin Yin asked him to come to Bugu City, so he could not return empty-handed. At least, he had to make Earthstar Province submit to the Empress, and not just Tanglan's fief. Late at night, Rinpochen took Wei Chou and Qin Yen out in plainclothes to inspect the defense of the demon race in the Qinling Mountains. Lei Chong was originally a fool who was brave but not astute. Now, this fool brought a group of stupid armor demons into the Iha nation to burn, kill, and loot, and left another group of idiots here to guard the Qinling Mountains. Presumably, this group of idiots would not be too smart. This was a heaven-sent opportunity for Lin Muyu to seize the Qinling Mountains. The 3 of them hid in the bushes and looked into the distance. The flames on the Qinling Mountains were swaying. The encampment of the armor demons was very simple and crude. There were only tents made of grass and rattan. Furthermore, more than half of the armor demons slept in the open air. However, it seemed that there were a lot of troops. Tang Shi's words were not false. They had at least 10,000 armor demons guarding the Qinling Mountains. Big brother, in my opinion. Qin Yan's eyes were full of fighting spirit as he said, we can send troops to attack the Qinling Mountains at dawn tomorrow. The elites of the Longdan army camp are not afraid of these 10,000 armor demons. No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, how about I take down the Qinling Mountains without wasting a single soldier? When I return, I will send light cavalry to provoke them tomorrow and let the armor demons attack Bugu City. I want to test the power of the arrow boxes developed by the weapons department. Yes. Chapter 387. At night, candlelight gently swayed in the central tent of the Longdan army camp. Wei Chou spread a simple map on the table with fine sweat oozing from his forehead. He said with a smile, this is the only map we can draw. Commander, you can use it reluctantly. The marks of the demons on the Qinling Mountains have been redrawn. Yes. Lin Muyu put her hand on the table and said, Swift White Province and Earthstar Province are on the 2 sides of the Qinling Mountains. This part of the Qinling Mountains is about 200 miles long. The demons won't have too many troops to fight against us. Wei Chou nodded. The 10,000 demons are scattered at the pass of the Qinling Mountains. Yes. On the side, Qin Yen held the holy spear that Lin Muyu brought back from the chaotic realm. A trace of worry flashed across his face as he said, Big brother, even if there are only 10,000 demons, they are armor demons after all. We don't have the Daojiang River as a barrier. Once the armor demons attack the Qinling Mountains, I'm afraid that the heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp won't be able to gain any advantage in the decisive battle on the plains. Not necessarily. Lin Muyu frowned and said, in the Battle of Winterfrost City, we didn't know the strength of the armor demons at all. Therefore, we sent the cavalry to fight the armor demons on the plains, which led to the final defeat. The armor demons are strong and their shells are thick. Ordinary swords can hardly cut through them. Moreover, their strength has reached the point where they are not afraid of the cavalry's impact. However, we always neglected one thing. We gave up the advantage that the cavalry should have. What advantage? Fengxi asked in surprise. Lin Muyu raised the corner of her mouth. Mobility. What is mobility? Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu explained. The so-called mobility refers to the ability to move. No matter how fast the armor demons are, they can't outrun our cavalries. We can adopt harassment tactics. All the heavy cavalries should take off their armors and turn into light cavalries. Then they should carry bows and arrows and keep a distance from the armor demons. Then we can keep shooting them with white drill arrows. When the armor demons chase after us, we can send many groups of light cavalries to launch sneak attacks on the armor demons and scatter their forces. Then we can kill these armor demons by using traps and other tactics. Excitement surged onto Qin Yan's face. Big brother, can this kind of battle tactic really work? Yes, but... Lin Muyu pondered for a second before saying, everything depends on the result of tomorrow's battle. Lei Chong's Armor Demons Corps annihilated the Yangwei Corps of the Empire in Winterfrost City, which is a disgrace to the Empire. At this moment, the Armor Demons have crossed the Qinling Mountains and forced the rebels of the Iha country to retreat again and again. The Armor Demons Corps is full of arrogance. We must destroy their spirit in tomorrow's battle. Wei Chou nodded. We will follow your arrangements. Good. Lin Muyu nodded and said, tomorrow, 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp will follow me out of the city to challenge and lead the armor demons to Bugu City. Remember to install all the arrow boxes on the city wall in advance. Whether we can defeat the armor demon army tomorrow depends on the arrow boxes. Rest early tonight and start the action tomorrow morning. Yes. The flames in the Longdan army camp were swaying. Everything seemed so quiet. However, everyone knew that there would be another decisive battle with the demon tribe tomorrow. The Iha country was defeated. All the passes in the Qinling Mountains were in the hands of the demon tribe. The Longdan army camp must take back the control of the nearby passes from the demon tribe. Otherwise, the army of over 100,000 armor demons of the Lei Chong Corps would rush into the core area of the empire after slaughtering the Iha country. The next morning, the sun dispelled the fog and the sound of horses galloping could be heard in the forest. Lin Muyu personally led 5,000 elite cavalrymen of the Courage of Dragon Battalion out of the city and arrived at the foot of the Qinling Mountains. The coniferous pine trees by the road were covered with dew and dripped onto Lin Muyu's armor. Drops of water burst out and splashed onto Lin Muyu's face, making him feel a little cold. Further ahead, there was a spacious mountain road leading to the south of the Qinling Mountains. It was the only place where one could climb over the Qinling Mountains. A pitch-black stone fortress was located in the valley. Mozong Pass, the #1 fortress between the Earthly Star province of the Empire and the Swift White province of the Iha country. However, at this moment, Mozong Pass had already fallen into the hands of the demon tribe. In the distance, armor demons holding heavy battle axes patrolled back and forth on the pass. There was also a demon tribe's battle flag on the pass. The flag was painted with two strangely shaped crossed longswords. It was called God's Sword Flag. It should be the belief of the demon tribe, and probably the reason why the high-level demon tribe were all proficient in swordsmanship. As the horse stepped on the pine leaves, Lin Muyu looked at the Mozong Pass in the distance and said, change to bows and arrows. Shoot at the Mozong Pass from half a mile away from the pass to lure the demon tribe out of the pass to fight. We can't go too fast, we must stick to them at a distance. Yes, Commander. A group of soldiers of the Longdan army camp hung their spears and other long-handled weapons on the side of their horses. They raised their hands to take out their bows and arrows and followed Lin Muyu to gallop towards the Mozong Pass on the mountain ridge. On top of the city gate, a group of armor demons had also discovered the traces of the human army. They seemed to be very excited as they roared in the demon language that Wei Chou could not understand. Wei Chou could not help but frown. What are these cockroaches shouting? God knows. Get ready to shoot. Lin Muyu opened her hand and raised the precious carving bow on the side of her horse. She put a special black giant arrow on it. Swirling fighting light appeared on her palm, and the power of the overwhelming true dragon Yuan fire poured into the giant arrow. With a whoosh, it flew straight towards the pass. The next moment, the giant arrow pierced into the rocks with a pong sound, splashing a cloud of dust. Roar! An armored demon officer looked at the huge arrow inserted into the city wall not far away. Closely after that, he raised his head and looked at the dense heavy cavalries of Dragon Courage Battalion in the distance. At the same time, he couldn't help but raise his battle axe as he roared, F***CK Barina. Commander, what does this demon tribe's language mean? Kill Brazil. Wei Cho asked with a smile after breaking the rope of the demon tribe's flag with one arrow. I don't know. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, it probably means, kill our way out of the city, kill their bloody mothers, and dig their ancestral graves. These stinky cockroaches, how dare they dig our ancestral graves? Wei Cho smiled slightly. After we annihilate the demon tribe, we must dig their ancestral graves. An eye for an eye. The surrounding soldiers of the Longdan army camp all burst into laughter. Right at this moment, the heavy iron gate of the Black Pine Pass suddenly rose with a humming sound. In the next moment, numerous armored demons rushed out with blunt and heavy weapons in their hands while roaring, Kill Brazil. Some of them even flapped their wings and made short-distance leaps. Indeed, the running speed of armored demons was much faster than that of humans, but it was far slower than that of warhorses. Retreat! Lin Muyu pulled the reins as she urged Snow Treading to turn around and leave. The 5,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp immediately changed from the vanguard to the rear as they hurriedly returned from the pine woods. However, Wei Cho didn't completely escape. His handsome face was full of killing intent as he ordered, the first team, retreat. The second team, prepare to shoot. Nearly 300 cavalries of the Longdan army camp immediately stopped their warhorses as they turned around and put arrows on their bows. After a round of fierce shooting, they immediately turned around and left. At the same time, the rear team was ready for another round of shooting. After 2 rounds of shooting, some armor demons who were shot in the eyes and mouths wailed miserably and rolled in the pine woods, which further infuriated the other armor demons. Dong! 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 In the distance, the sound of war drums drifted from the Black Pine Pass. Indeed, these simple-minded armor demon generals didn't know how to lure the enemy at all. Out of fury, they chased after the 5,000 elite cavalries of the Longdan army camp led by Lin Muyu. After getting out of the pine woods, Wei Cho didn't stop the archer cavalry tactic. Instead, he kept following the demons. Although the armor demons didn't kill any soldiers of the Longdan army camp, their eyes were all red as they held their battle axes and ran madly. After chasing for nearly 40 miles, the Cuckoo City had already appeared in front of them. Qin Yan and Fengshi were on the city gate as they shouted, Commander, hurry up and enter the city. The loud sound of war drums on the Cuckoo City directly attracted the attention of the demon army. A demon general who was running at the very front raised his battle axe and roared, Kill Brazil! The sound of horse hooves was dense. The Longdan army camp quickly entered the city. When the last person entered the city, Lin Muyu ordered loudly, Close the city gate and prepare the arrow boxes. Once the armor demons enter the shooting range, shoot. The gate was closed with a loud bang. Lin Muyu handed the battle horse to a guard and rushed up the city wall with Wei Cho and other generals with a long sword. Looking from afar, the dense armor demon army surrounded them. Wei Cho couldn't help but take a deep breath. Commander, there are at least 5,000 armor demons. They are going to do it for real. It doesn't matter. Let them come. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and said, Prepare the arrow boxes. On the city wall, the arrow boxes were placed in a row. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp slowly calibrated the shooting angle, aiming straight at the bottom of the city wall. The shooting from top to bottom would be stronger and could also greatly increase the penetrating power of the arrow boxes. Roar, roar! Under the city wall, the armored demon army roared and rushed to the city wall. Their way of attacking the city was very simple. They used battle axes to dig the foundation of the city wall. The effect could not be seen in a short time, but after digging for an hour, it would be fatal. Ready, shoot. When the armored demons were about 200 meters away from the city, Lin Muyu ordered decisively. For a moment, hundreds of arrow boxes on the city launched an attack at the same time. Special steel arrows tempered with fire poison shot straight into the distance and penetrated the bodies of the armored demons. As Lin Muyu expected, the powerful penetrating power of the arrow boxes was enough to pierce through the hard armor of the armored demons, and the tempered fire poison could kill the armored demons immediately. In the blink of an eye, a great number of armored demons outside the city gate had died. However, it seemed that these armored demons were unwilling to accept this result. They still attacked the city gate as they hacked the gate with battle axes over and over again. The arrows on the city wall were like rain, all of which were white diamond arrows. The soldiers beside the arrow boxes quickly twisted the wrenches to recharge and reload the arrow boxes. This process was completed by 8 soldiers together. Took about 2 minutes, but it was enough. On the city wall, it was time to perform archery. Wei Chou and the others pulled the bowstrings into a full moon and shot the armored demons that were attacking the city with white diamond arrows again and again. The city gate was covered with countless marks of being hacked by battle axes. It was already a little shaky. Qin Yan couldn't help frowning and said, "Big brother, the city gate is about to be hacked by the armored demons. Should I go?" "Yes, be careful." "Yes." Chapter 388. Roar, roar, roar. 3 sturdy and valiant armored demons swung their battle axes and fiercely hacked at the city gate. One of the armored demons had been struck by 4 white diamond arrows in a row, causing blood to flow all over his face. It was likely that his brain had been severely injured. His entire body twitched as he fell to the ground, but he still seemed to want to hold his battle axe and continue hacking at the city gate. Behind him, even more armored demons waved their blunt and heavy weapons as they crowded towards the city gate. Although the craftsmanship of the demon race's battle axes was not excellent and had even become rusty, each battle axe weighed nearly 200 kilograms. When it landed on the city gate time and time again, it had already caused the iron sheet on the surface of the Bugu City's city gate to be flipped over, causing with splinters to fly everywhere. In the blink of an eye, the city gate collapsed with a loud bang. No one had thought that the defense of Bugu City would actually be this weak. In a short span of less than 20 minutes, the city gate had been breached. Boom! When the city gate collapsed, a group of armored demons with blood-red eyes waved their weapons and charged in almost crazily. However, before they had completely charged in, a powerful Do Chi pounced on them. Bang! The long spear turned into starlight and pierced through the bodies of several armored demons, blasting their bodies straight out of the city gate. The gatekeeper was the deputy commander of the Longdan army camp, Qin Yan. Currently, Qin Yan's cultivation had advanced and had long since stepped into the peak of the 2nd level of the Heaven Realm. The Do Chi on the long spear was thick. Adding on to the fact that he was young and strong, the power of this attack naturally could not be underestimated. However, the number of armored demons was enormous. Furthermore, each and every one of them had entered a crazed battle state. With a furious roar, they charged towards Qin Yan. "Guard the gate," Qin Yan shouted in a low voice. A large group of Longdan army camp soldiers holding heavy shields raised their shields high and guarded the entrance. Qin Yan, on the other hand, carried his long spear and flew forward, guarding in front of everyone. Dragon Chi flew around his body and condensed into the dark golden dragon scale armor martial soul form. Rock wall, shield armor, piercing armor, and other martial soul skills were all activated. The long spear swept horizontally and chopped towards the 5 armored demons. Pong! Chi's strength burst out and the dragon scale armor shone brightly. What a good Qin Yan! He forcefully pushed back the 5 armored demons with the powerful defense of the dragon scale armor. With a thrust of his spear, it pierced through the neck of an armored demon with a poochie sound. This spear was a sacred weapon. Furthermore, Lin Muyu had refined the spearhead with a white diamond. Piercing through the hard armor of an armor demon was naturally a piece of cake. Roar, roar, roar. Qin Yan's display of power made the armor demons even more furious. Over 100 armor demons charged over without any regard for anything. Many of them even raised their spears and threw them out. Dang, dang, dang. The long spears continuously collided with the shield wall and the dragon scale armor. The armor demons were born with great strength. The strength of the long spears they threw could be imagined. Qin Yan tried his best to protect the dragon scale armor from being broken, but his face became paler and paler. Meanwhile, there were constantly Longdan army camp soldiers who could not hold on to their shields and were killed by the long spears. Screams sounded one after another. The battle situation became more and more intense. What's going on down there? Lin Muyu was guarding on the city wall. A soldier of Longdan army camp beside her had his head chopped off by a battle axe thrown by an armor demon. Blood and brain mixed and splashed on Lin Muyu's armor. Gritting his teeth, Lin Muyu began to increase the qi in his body and drew out his sword. The attack of the armor demons was too fierce. Even though the Longdan army camp had the advantage of defending the city wall, they did not have the absolute upper hand. This was absolutely unacceptable. With a bang sound outside the city gate, golden light radiated in all directions. At the same time, Qin Yan's roar drifted over. An armor demon who was holding a battle axe of at least 300 kilograms was sent flying by the dragon scale armor. However, his face was full of ferocious and contemptuous smile. Obviously, Qin Yan could not bear this blow anymore. Additionally, this armor demon was wearing the badge of a senior general on his chest. He should be at least a chiliarch in the armor demon army. He might even be captaincy. Therefore, Qin Yan had to get rid of this armor demon general first. Otherwise, the city gate would be in danger. Clang! Lin Muyu drew out the dragon spirit sword. The qi around her revolved and condensed into the holy domain's raging whirlwind. Wei Chou was shocked and hurriedly said, "Commander, you are the commander of the 3 armies of Bugu City. You are a wise general, not a fighting general. You can't fight in person. I beg you, Commander, don't go." "It's okay." Lin Muyu smiled confidently and said, "When I was in the heaven realm, I could fight with the armor demons. Now that I am in the holy domain, they can't do anything to me. Don't worry, I won't be too eager to fight. I'm just fighting for an advantage for Ayen. You guys guard the city wall." "Yes." In Wei Chou's worried eyes, Lin Muyu flipped over and flew down the city wall. Her body was wrapped in a thick milky white battle armor. Her long sword fell from the sky like a star falling into the human world. Boom! The power of the sword was like a god descending to the world. In the sword light, the bodies of 3 armor demons were torn into pieces, and a foul smell spread in all directions. Ordinary armor demons couldn't resist the first strike of Lin Muyu's star tactics. The sword light fell to the ground, leaving a long ravine, and went straight to the feet of the armor demon general. He looked up at Lin Muyu with a pair of scarlet eyes full of ferocity and anger. He suddenly spun the battle axe in his hand and roared, "Cha Baha!" Lin Muyu didn't know what he was talking about, but she knew that he must be scolding her. Therefore, she didn't show any mercy. She gently opened her left hand, and a ribbon of 7-color Milky Way slowly condensed. It was the star chain, the second movement of the star skill. She rushed forward and raised her palm. The ribbon quickly wrapped the armor demon general in the air. Roar! The armor demon general kept roaring. His confidence in his own strength made him very arrogant. He thought that his battle axe could chop everything in the world. Unfortunately, this axe was like a clay ox falling into the sea under the restraint of the star chain. He couldn't exert any strength at all. The star chain was like a rope that tied him tighter and tighter, and even the sound of bones cracking came from his arms. He kept screaming miserably, "Die!" Lin Muyu rushed forward as she abruptly stepped on the chest armor of this armored demon general with her battle boots. Closely after that, she rotated her dragon spiritual sword and stabbed towards the neck of the armored demon with blazing true dragon's original flame, penetrating its heart from top to bottom. When the armored demon general fell down, Lin Muyu pulled out her bloody long sword as she leaped up and landed on the ground. Her white robe fluttered in the wind, which made her look pretty handsome. Roar! Roar! Around, nearly 100 armored demons who had besieged the city gate were dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with anger and fear. Finally, they threw out their weapons and went straight to Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. She shouted in a low voice. The golden gourd wall broke out of her body and lingered around her. Suddenly, the battle axes and spears were bounced away. Around her, a group of unarmed armored demons roared loudly. Their commander was killed, and they had lost their minds. It seemed that they would not give up attacking until they killed Lin Muyu at the city gate. Facing a group of armored demons, Lin Muyu did not panic. A vigorous fighting aura rushed straight to her Ihai. The next moment, the fighting aura could be transformed into spiritual power. A powerful saint realm fell from the sky, and the field was enshrouded with the luster of golden god-binding chains. Lin Muyu's realm pressure was enhanced by the divine power of god-binding chains, which was far beyond that of an ordinary sanctuary expert. Bang, bang, bang. The murderous armored demons felt as if their bodies were shackled. Many of them actually knelt on the ground. Under the powerful saint realm pressure, they had no power to resist at all. The sword light flashed. Lin Muyu beheaded the armored demons one by one like a reaper. In the blink of an eye, she had beheaded nearly 50 armored demons. Finally, the fighting aura in her body was not enough to maintain the realm. The moment the realm was lifted, the armored demons stood up and ran back. They had realized that this powerful human in front of them was not someone they could defeat. In the distance, there was the unique sharp conch sound of the armored demons. They were giving the order to retreat. Below the city, there were still many armored demons attacking the city. However, they were greeted by the merciless baptism of the white diamond arrows. The resistance of the armored demons became weaker and weaker. In the end, it turned into an escape. Thousands of armored demons fled to Black Pine Pass in disorder, giving up the attack on Bugu City. Lin Muyu returned to the city. Her battle robe was stained with blood. Qin Yan's arm was wrapped in gauze. He seemed to have suffered a minor injury. He said excitedly, "Big brother, let's attack while these cockroaches are fleeing in panic." No. Lin Muyu shook her head. Don't chase a cornered enemy. Moreover, there are still many armored demons. Once we fight outside, we will lose the protection of the city. I'm afraid we won't be their match. In fact, the most important thing was that Lin Muyu had used the Saint Realm pressure to kill many armored demons. However, she had used up nearly half of the fighting aura in her body. It would be inappropriate to chase after them. These armored demons were too powerful. It would cost a lot to defeat them. On the side, Fengxi said, "You're right, madam. The armored demons are tyrannical and have infinite strength. Once they are forced to fight with us in the wild, I'm afraid the Longdan army camp will have to pay at least 3 times the price of the enemy to annihilate them. It's not worth it." Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Send people out of the city to pull the arrows. Don't pull the arrows from the armored demons whose blood isn't red. After pulling out the arrowheads, count the number of armored demons and bury them all in a big pit. Bury them deep. There are many bacteria on the armored demons. Don't let them give birth to a plague." Yes. Qin Yan cupped his fists and said with a respectful smile, "Big brother, before we set off, Her Highness the Empress added a reward regulation to the military system reform. It requires that, after killing an armored demon, they can knock out 2 of its fangs as proof. Should we knock out the fangs of these dead armored demons?" "Okay, go." Yes. In the old system of the Empire's army, once the enemy was defeated, the way to reward the soldiers was to set up camp, massacre the city, and plunder the city's property. However, these rules had long been abolished in Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp. Therefore, getting them to knock out the fangs of the armored demons was the best reward. Looking at the countless corpses of the armored demons outside the city, Lin Muyu was full of ambition. This was the first time that she had won an absolute victory against the armored demon legion. She needed to make persistent efforts to find the weak points of the armor demons to avenge the humiliation of the defeat in Winterfrost City. She could also avenge Min Yulin, Min Zhan, Su Ying, and other generals who died in the battle. Chapter 389. The night sky of Bugu City was filled with stars, and the sounds of insects could be heard from the distant forest. It was very tranquil. The Longdan army camp was set up in the open space in the southern part of the city. War horses were chewing on fodder, and soldiers were training to charge and defend with shields under the cover of the night. In the central tent, the dim light from the candlelight shone on Lin Muyu's slightly tired face. On the side, Wei Chou respectfully held the file and said, "In today's battle, we lost 316 people, 748 were seriously injured, and 2,174 armor demons were killed. No one survived. The steel arrows and white diamond arrows that we used have been pulled out, and more than 300 white diamond arrows are missing." Lin Muyu raised her head and asked, "Where did these white diamond arrows go? Can't they be pulled out?" "They probably can't be pulled out." Wei Chou smiled awkwardly. "Most of these white diamond arrows are still stuck in the bodies of the escaping armor demons." "Then forget it." Lin Muyu was a little speechless. At this moment, Fangxi entered the tent and said, "Commander, Bugu City Lord Wang Ju requests to see you." "Oh, please come in." "Yes." Not long after, a middle-aged man wearing the uniform of a civil official walked in. He was very fat and wore a 2-star insignia on his neck. His expression was very flattering as he bowed and said with a smile, "Little Wang Ju pays his respects to Commander Yu." Lin Muyu stood up and said with a smile, "Sire, Wang Ju is too polite. What brings you to the Longdan army camp so late at night?" Wang Ju said, "Commander Yu has shown great power today and defeated the demon army that wiped out the Iha nation's rebel army. It's an eye-opener for us. With a famous general like Commander Yu, the Empire will definitely be able to recover the lost land and unify the continent." When Lin Muyu heard this kind of flattery, she immediately felt disgusted and said, "What exactly does Darren want? Just say it." "It's like this." Wang Ju smiled flatteringly and said, "The brothers in the Longdan army camp have worked hard this entire day, and some of them were even injured. As the army that Her Highness personally leads, the Longdan army camp is able to shed blood and sweat for our small Chuchu City. So the colleagues in Chuchu City are very grateful and have done their best to prepare some food, weapons, and women to send over. Commander, please rest assured, these women are very clean, and some are even virgins. If their bodies can make the generals of the Longdan army camp happy, this is all our fortune." "Where did these women come from?" Lin Muyu asked. Wang Ju was stunned and said respectfully, "They are all refugees who escaped from Lanyan City after the war, and some local women who sold themselves as slaves. Their origins are very clean. Please rest assured. Commander Yu." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but the Longdan army camp doesn't take in any camp girls. This is our rule, and I hope you can forgive us. We can't take any of these women. As for the food, weapons, and so on behalf of the Longdan army camp and Her Highness the Empress, we want all of them." Wang Ju was startled and said, "Commander Yu, most of the officers and soldiers in the Longdan army camp are men in their prime. Do you really not need women?" "There's no need." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "The soldiers in the Longdan army camp can get a certain amount of pay every month, and they will be rewarded after killing the armor demons. Moreover, I will give them a few days off every month. If they need anything, they can go to the brothel to solve it. There's no need to bother you, Governor." "In this case, I understand. Commander Yu's strict management of the army is admirable. If there's nothing else, Governor, please go back. I still have to deal with some military affairs. Lin Muyu appreciates your kindness. After we defeat the devil race in the Earthstar province, I will speak to Her Highness about Wang Ju's support and kindness to the Longdan army camp." "Then, thank you very much, Commander Yu." Wang Ju was so excited that he actually knelt down. Both he and Lin Muyu were important officials of the Empire, and they didn't need such etiquette. This could only explain Wang Ju's excitement. After all, Bugu City was just a small city in a remote province, and he might not have the chance to see the Empress even once in his life. Now that Lin Muyu said that she would put in a good word for him in front of Qin Yin, it was like giving him a new lease on life. After seeing Wang Ju leave, Lin Muyu immediately lowered her head and continued to look at the files and maps on the table. Wei Chou watched Wang Ju leave and said with a smile, "It's really interesting, these officials." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "Aren't all officials like this? It's fine as long as these people don't disrupt our operation." Yes. A trace of respect flashed across Wei Chou's face as he cupped his fists and said, "Commander, Sir Qin Yen has already brought people to dig a pit in the 70 Zhang forest. It will be completed in one night. Are we really going to continue the challenge tomorrow morning?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded her head and said with a smile, "The demons have lost nearly a quarter of their troops in this battle, and they must be very upset. They are very eager to wash away their shame, but unfortunately, there are no intelligent generals in the Armor Demon Legion of the 10,000 demons. They are all a bunch of idiots. As long as we provoke them tomorrow, they will definitely be fooled. However, don't attack the Black Pine Pass tomorrow. We will challenge the Jiayuan Pass instead. There are about 3,000 armor demons guarding the Jiayuan Pass. After eliminating these 3,000 armor demons, we can more or less open up the road to Iha Nation." Wei Chou was startled and said, "Commander, you want to go to Iha Nation?" "Yes." Lin Muyu's eyes looked at the file. The fighting aura around him was dense, showing that his heart was not calm. However, his voice was very calm as he said faintly, "Big Brother Qin Lei's head has been chopped off and soaked in a medicine bottle. It is still in Lingnan." As he said this, he raised his head and looked at Wei Chou. His clear eyes were filled with hatred as he muttered, "There is not a night that I don't have nightmares. There is not a day that I don't want to kill my way to Lingnan. Take back my big brother's head and bury him under the nation-guarding monument." Wei Chou was moved. His eyes were red as he cupped his fists and said, "No matter what Lord Commander plans to do, Wei Chou swears to follow you with my life and will never regret it." "Yes. Don't worry. I won't let you guys risk your lives to take back lost land. I won't let everyone fall into danger again." Lin Muyu lowered his head and continued to look at the map. He asked, "What's the situation in Lingnan? Is there any news?" "I heard that Marshal Lei Chong of the demon race has led a 170,000 armored demon army and started a massacre in dozens of big and small cities in Lingnan. Blood flowed for thousands of miles. But the rebel army of Iha Nation didn't resist at all and retreated all the way to the steel protective wall. Lingnan is now a sea of blood. Not only did the hypocritical Iha Nation fail to protect the civilians, they even disregarded them. The people of the world should have clearly seen Qin Yi's hypocritical face by now." "I understand." Lin Muyu rubbed his temples tiredly and said, "What about Long Qianlin's army? Have they all retreated?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "When Long Qianlin retreated from Lanyan City, he took with him 50,000 Lingnan Iron Cavalry. Now, the military authority of these 50,000 cavalry has been given to Long Qianlin by Qin Yi. After 3 years of tempering, these 50,000 cavalry have become the most tyrannical fighting force of Lingnan Iha Nation. They are called the Dragon Cavalry by the Lingnan Dukes. They are well-equipped and have brilliant tactics. However, after the demon race invaded Lingnan, the Dragon Cavalry has always avoided fighting. I don't know what Long Qianlin is thinking." "Dragon Cavalry?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She looked at the patterns on the table and suddenly a dense killing intent arose. "Commander, you—" Wei Chou was startled and said, "What are you thinking about?" "No, nothing." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "I have a premonition that our Longdan army camp and the Dragon Cavalry will fight. Just wait and see. Wei Chou, continue to strengthen the training of the Longdan army camp. One day, I want the Longdan army camp to completely annihilate Long Qianlin's Dragon Cavalry to comfort Chu Huayin's soul in heaven. Yes, this subordinate will." Wei Chou cupped his fists and looked at Lin Muyu with concern. He said, "My lord, you must be tired from the battle during the day. Rest early. As for the remaining matters, General Wei Chou, Feng Shi, and Qin Yan will naturally take care of them. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu stood up and put on a milky white battle robe. She said, "Have someone boil a basin of hot water for me. I want to soak my feet." Yes, Commander. In the Lingnan province, a steel wall covered in sheets of iron stretched across the continent. It was extremely majestic. It was also the steel wall that protected the Iha country from being destroyed by the armored demon army. On the wall, a young general wearing a commander's cloak gazed majestically at the sparsely lit city in the distance. His eyes were filled with coldness and anger as he said, "Which city is that?" Reporting to General Long, judging from the direction, it is Chiyuan City. There are about 100,000 people in the city. Now, it has already become the territory of the demon race. On the side, a captaincy said indifferently. Long Qianlin sighed and said, 100,000 people died in the hands of the demon race just like that. We are all sinners, sinners of the Iha country and the human race. Captaincy gritted his teeth and said, "They are strong while we are weak. There is no other way. There is no need for General Long to blame yourself." How is the training of the chain iron formation going? It is still in training. Captaincy was somewhat speechless. He cautiously asked, "General Long, are we really going to use the chain iron formation to fight the Thunder Rush Demon Corps? If we lose, the 50,000 dragon riders will be gone. The Iha country's most elite army will be gone." Long Qinlin's eyes shot out a beam of light. Still looking at the north of the steel wall, he said, "The dragon riders are the army of the king. If we cannot defeat the enemy in front of us for the commander, how can we be the army of the king? Just listen to my orders. In 3 days, the dragon riders will pass through the steel wall and avoid the main force to fight the Thunder Rush Demon Corps. I will personally go out and test the power of the chain iron formation." Yes. The cold wind caused Long Qianlin's body to tremble. He suddenly asked, "What is the Empire doing now that the Qinling Mountains have fallen into the hands of the demon race? Xiang Yu and Lin Muyu have led their troops to the Qinling Mountains. I wonder how the battle is going. Lin Muyu is here too." Long Qianlin's face was full of pain. "It is late, I am going to sleep." "Yes, General Long." Chapter 390. The next day, white mist lingered in the forest north of the mountain range. Looking from afar, it was a vast expanse of white mist. The green Qinling Mountains towered between heaven and earth. Between the mountains stood a towering fortress with white walls. Jiayuan Pass was one of the 3 major passes in the Qinling Mountains between the Earthstar Province and the Swift White Province. It was also a strategic location leading to the Iha Kingdom. The sound of hooves echoed softly. Lin Muyu rode her horse to the front of the team with her pear blossom spear in hand. She slowly activated her spiritual pulse method and suddenly glanced at the southeast direction, saying, "There!" Wei Chou quickly pulled out a white drill arrow and shot it according to Lin Muyu's gesture. Ow, ow! An armored demon stumbled out of the bushes with his hands covering his throat. The white drill arrow had penetrated his throat. He could not survive and fell down. This was a sentry sent by the demons. Although the intelligence of the armored demons was astonishingly low, they seemed to be able to master simple military tasks such as patrolling and scouting under constant training. "Anything else?" Wei Chou squinted his eyes and asked. Lin Muyu shook her head. "Nothing else. When we attack Jiayuan Pass, don't talk to them. When you are 200 meters away from them, directly use your arm strength to shoot the armor demon with the highest military position on the city wall. According to the habits of the armor demon corps, they will definitely chase you out." "Yes, Commander." But in fact, it was not as Lin Muyu imagined. When they arrived at Jiayuan Pass, it was full of mist in front of them. They couldn't see the armor demons on the city wall. Instead, they could only hear the clanking sounds of weapons and armors. It seemed that the armor demon corps was mobilizing troops. Wei Chou looked confused and said, "I can't see them. What should I do?" "It's okay. Let me do it." Lin Muyu urged her horse to move forward a few steps slowly. Under the gaze of thousands of soldiers in the Longdan army camp, she slowly raised her palm. The power of the sanctuary surged and the fighting spirit roared out, condensing into whirlwinds. It was the mental cultivation method of raining sword with wind. For a moment, the mist in the air swirled rapidly under the driving of the fighting spirit. With a buzzing sound, a spiral passage was formed in the mist. Everything within dozens of meters on the city wall had been clearly seen. "All right." With a cheer, Wei Cho suddenly raised his hand and knocked an arrow. Whoosh! A white diamond arrow flew out again. A centurion of the armored demons retreated to the ground in response, and another arrow pierced his throat. Wei Chao's reputation as the best archer of the imperial army was not undeserved. Perhaps he was even slightly better than the legendary archery of the old General Suing. It was a pity that Suing had died in the Battle of Winterfrost City. Otherwise, he would have been another fierce general of the Empire. Lin Muyu sighed with emotions inside. At the same time, the sound of the fortress gate being opened drifted from afar along with the demon language of the armored demons. Howling and messy footsteps, these armored demons had already chased them out. "Retreat slowly." Lin Muyu pulled the reins and urged treading snow to retreat slowly. At the same time, she also grabbed the carved bow hanging on the side of the warhorse, turned around and pulled it to a full moon. Whoosh! An arrow containing the mysterious energy of the initial appearance of starlight penetrated the chest armor of an armored demon, and then the head of an armored demon at the back. The strength of the arrow was amazing. Wei Cho and Fengshi looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Fengshi even said without concealment, "The power of the sanctuary is indeed not something we can compare with." Lin Muyu urged her horse to gallop and smiled slightly. "Don't worry. You will reach this realm one day. Let's go. Take the armored demon legion to the 70 Zhang forest." Yes. In the early morning of autumn, the sunlight fell on the jungle, making people very lazy. However, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp did not dare to slack off. They kept shooting arrows at the group of armored demons at the back while urging their horses to keep a distance. The combat power of the armored demons was really amazing. They could still throw powerful spears, axes and other weapons at a distance of more than 100 meters, penetrating the bodies of the cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp and killing dozens of them in the blink of an eye. Lin Muyu frowned. The death of each soldier made her feel heavier. War was not a game, and the armored demons were far more terrible than she had imagined. When they moved forward, a group of soldiers of the Longdan army camp had already been waiting for them. A chilly arch flew forward, cupped his hands and whispered, "Commander, the trap and arrow box have been arranged. The arrow box is on the right, marked with a red cloth. The trap is on the left, marked with a white cloth. Please be careful, Commander." "Got it." Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "Follow me. When the armored demons come, the arrow box must be shot at the same time, forcing them to take the path of the trap." "Yes, Commander." Under Lin Muyu's order, thousands of cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp galloped past and passed through the gaps of the white cloth under the leadership of Lin Muyu. Behind them, after passing the trap, they immediately shouted loudly. About 3,000 armored demons had almost turned out in full strength, waving their spears and axes and roaring. "Arrow box, launch!" The chilly arch ordered loudly. The next moment, nearly 50 arrow boxes were launched at the same time, pouring out 5,000 steel arrows in an instant. The power was amazing. Puff, puff, puff. Blood splashed everywhere. The super-close range shooting was very lethal. The heavy steel arrows pierced through the armored demons' bodies and nailed them to the big trees in the jungle. The armored demons who were lucky enough to not be shot stood there dumbfounded. They had never seen the power of human arrow boxes. They hurriedly turned around and ran towards the deserters of Lin Muyu. In fact, if the armored demons launched an attack on the arrow box troop, they could definitely kill all the people of the Longdan army camp in 2 minutes. Unfortunately, the armored demons also knew the feeling of fear. They had long been frightened by this round of shooting from the arrow box. This was exactly what Lin Muyu had guessed correctly. However, there were arrow boxes on the right and crisscrossing traps waiting for them on the left. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of armored demons had fallen into the deep pit. It was nearly 7 or 8 meters deep. No matter how hard they flapped their wings, they could not fly up. Clang! Lin Muyu pulled out her sharp sword and said, "It's like catching turtles in a jar. Shoot them all. Leave no one alive." "Yes, Commander." A group of soldiers of the Longdan army camp came to the pit and shot arrows at the same time. The armored demons in the pit could only be killed without any chance to resist. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of armored demons were killed again. On the opposite side of the pit, the armored demons about 50 m away were all dumbfounded. In the crowd, an armored demon wearing the rank of Chili Arch trembled his fangs as he raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu from afar. His scarlet eyes were full of hatred. He raised his spear and roared, "Gang Beso!" Instantly, the group of armored demons turned around and retreated. They retreated. This time, the armored demons retreated without putting up a fight. Lin Muyu frowned his sword-like eyebrows as he watched the armored demons retreating. Just now, the demon general's eyes made him feel a bit cold. These armored demons were not simple fools. Their intelligence seemed to be evolving step by step. Just now, the general's eyes contained not only anger, but also a warning. He warned Lin Muyu to wait for the revenge of the armored demon corps. Wei Chou slowly lowered the longbow in his hand. After taking a deep breath, he said with an unbelievable smile, "Your Excellency, we won. We won the armored demon corps in the field battle." Lin Muyu slightly nodded. All of a sudden, the crowd burst into cheers. This was probably the first time that humans won the armored demons in a battle of equal numbers on the plain. Although they relied on the power of the arrow boxes and the pit, it was still a great victory. This battle was enough to prove that the armored demon corps was not invincible in the field battle. After calculating the battle results, Zhang Tai found that 1,128 armored demons had been killed. However, the Longdan army camp had also lost nearly 100 people. Under such an absolute advantage, the armored demons could still kill nearly 100 fully armored warriors of the Longdan army camp. The powerful battle force of the armored demons could be clearly seen. As usual, they knocked off the fangs of the armored demons as spoils of war and collected their armors and weapons. All of these were ironwares, which were the most valuable treasures in the wartime. Wei Chou's face was full of joy. However, when he looked at Lin Muyu, he was a bit surprised as he asked, "Commander, why are you so gloomy?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I'm afraid that our next battle might be disadvantageous." "Oh, what do you mean, Commander?" "The armored demons are getting smarter and smarter. I'm afraid that they won't chase us so far to ambush us if we challenge them again. However, we have to take the passes such as Black Pine Pass and Jiayuan Pass. We have to fight them head-on. Wei Chou, do we have any chance to defeat the armored demons in the head-on battlefield? They have at least 5,000 soldiers." Wei Chou frowned and said, "Commander, you're right. I haven't thought that far. Let's go back and see how the battle is going on Yan's side." "Yes, Commander." After returning to Bugu City, the 5,000 Longdan army camp led by Qin Yan also came back. However, only over 4,500 people came back. Nearly 500 people were killed. Over 1,300 armored demons were killed by traps. It was a Pyrrhic victory. In the afternoon, in the central tent of the Longdan army camp, a group of generals were standing on both sides, holding a post-war conference and waiting for Lin Muyu's instructions. Lin Muyu was carefully wiping the dragon spirit sword. She oiled the blade and wiped it repeatedly. "Commander, everyone is here," Wei Chou reminded. Lin Muyu put the long sword on the long table, stood up and said, "In the battle this morning, everyone has seen the combat power of the demons. If there's anything you want to say, feel free to say it." Fengxi said, "Madam, we are indeed no match for the armored demons in the wild. Even if they only have 5,000 people, we are still no match for them. This is not an alarmist talk." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. Does anyone have any ideas? In the crowd, a Chiliarch cupped his fists and said, Commander, I think we should think of a way to let us fight the armored demons on flat ground. Oh? Lin Muyu looked up. This person was from the Holy Temple. He was an expert at the third heaven of Earth Realm. His name was Su Jiantao. He was brave in battle, so he was promoted to Chiliarch by Lin Muyu. General Su, do you have any suggestions? Lin Muyu asked. Su Jiantao said respectfully, Commander, I have also fought with the armored demons on flat ground many times. According to my observation, the armored demons are extremely strong and invulnerable. Their individual combat power is about the same as a human at the second heaven of Earth Realm. Moreover, most of the weapons used by the armored demons are heavy spears, which pierce through the opponent's body. As for our Longden army camp, most of our shields are round shields, tortoiseshell shields, and steel shields. They are very easy to be pierced by the armored demon's spears. Therefore, I suggest we can forge all shields. Chapter 391. All Shield. Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. What is an all shield? Su Jiantao cupped his fists and said, An all shield is actually a shield with a conical surface. The outside of the shield is made into a conical shape. In this way, it can greatly deflect the thrust attack from the front and make the attacks of the armor demons futile. The all shield weighs at least 200 kilograms. Together with the weight of the warhorses, cavalrymen, and armor, the impact of 1,000 kilograms will not be inferior to the divine power of the armor demons. With the all shield, it will be enough to protect ourselves. If we also have a spear that can pierce through the armor demons, we can deal with the armor demons on flat ground and even balance them. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. General Su, this really works? Yes, Commander. Su Jiantao smiled and said, When I was working in the branch of the Holy Temple in Yunzhong Province, I once forged an all-shield to fight against the wild boars that sneaked out of the dragon-seeking forest. The impact of the wild boar's tusks is very similar to the impact of the armor demon's iron spears. If it is used against the armor demons, the all-shield will also be effective. However, the premise is that the user of the all-shield must be extremely strong and cannot lift it at all. Therefore, I think that only cultivators with Earth Realm cultivation can complete this combat method. Very good. Lin Muyu secretly asked with joy, Wei Chou, how many cultivators have reached Earth Realm in our Longden army camp? Wei Chou said, Commander, most of the members of the Longden army camp come from the holy temples across the empire. Therefore, our individual combat power is the best in the empire. I have done a rough calculation. We have more than 300 warriors with Earth Realm cultivation. That's great. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, Send my order. Gather all 300 people together and form a battalion. Let's call it the All-Shield and Spear Cavalry Battalion. I will promote Su Jiantao to be the commander of the All-Shield and Spear Cavalry Battalion. He will be in charge of training the All-Shield and Spear Cavalry Battalion. In addition, choose 300 spears and spears from our weapons and send them to me. I will temper these spears with a white diamond edge so that they can easily pierce through the shell of the armor demons. Yes, Lord Commander. In addition, contact the Lord of Cuckoo City. Tell all ironware shops in Cuckoo City to stop working for our Longden army camp. Gather all the iron resources and forge the shield as fast as possible. Commander Su, please draw the shield's specific shape immediately. Yes. Su Jiantao was overjoyed. He cupped his fists and said, I will not let you down. Go do your work. Yes. After that, Lin Muyu closed her eyes and took a short rest. She had been in the Earthstar province for a few days. The battle situation was relatively good. The Longdan army camp had killed so many armor demons with a small loss. It was a great victory for the Empire. However, it was far from enough. There were still nearly 200,000 armor demons under the control of Lei Chong in Lingnan. Thinking of Lei Chong, Lin Muyu immediately thought of his ferocious face and the scene when Lei Chong chopped off the head of Du Hai, the first warrior of the empire. Lei Chong was a powerful enemy. She had to kill him. However, it was too difficult. Based on her current cultivation, Lin Muyu was afraid that she would not have more than 30% chance of winning Lei Chong. After a short while, Wei Chou came with weapons. The equipment in the Longdan army camp was the best in the empire. However, these weapons were not very good. Among the 300 spears and pike, only 3 were of spiritual quality. The rest were only of excellent quality. Some of them could only be regarded as relatively sharp. However, they could not be too picky. After all, resources were limited. Millennium meteoric iron was originally a luxury of the aristocracy. However, very few of them could be used in the war. There were still some white diamonds in the Chenquin bag. Plus some white diamond ornaments presented by the Castellan. They could barely be used to quench the sharp edges of the 300 weapons. After sending people to guard the camp to prevent anyone from disturbing them, Lin Muyu immediately took out her treasured refining cauldron and began to quench the sharp edges of these weapons one by one. Fortunately, these weapons were all ordinary products. The process was also very simple. After quenching the white diamonds, she just needed to plaster them directly. Of course, their power was far less than that of the dragon spiritual sword and the pear blossom spear, but it was more than enough to pierce through the hard armor of the armor demons. After all, the dragon spiritual sword and the pear blossom spear were used to deal with advanced demons, not just to kill armor demons. In fact, in the eyes of experts like Lin Muyu, armor demons were not terrible. As long as there were no more than 200 armor demons besieging her, Lin Muyu could escape unscathed. After all, she had 2 martial souls, 7 planets, mysterious energy, and star skill. Although she was also at the first heaven of the Saint Realm, Lin Muyu's current strength was obviously far above that of Du Hai. She was even stronger than Lei Hong. This was obvious. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Batches of all shields were sent from the governor's mansion. They were cast strictly according to Su Jiantao's blueprint. They were in the shape of a vertebra and were very heavy. Lin Muyu lifted one of them and felt it was very heavy. Naturally, those experts with the cultivation of Earthrealm would not be too relaxed. Therefore, they accepted Su Jiantao's suggestion and set aside 7 days for the all-shield and spear cavalry battalion to train. This was a strong force to fight against armor demons and also the strongest weapon in Lin Muyu's hand at the moment. In the afternoon a few days later, a messenger rushed into the central military tent with a letter in his hand respectfully. He said, "Commander, a letter from Her Highness. Oh, give it to me." Lin Muyu was delighted. Yes. Beside him, Wei Chou asked, "Is it an imperial edict from Her Highness?" The messenger shook his head and said, "No, it's a private letter from Her Highness to Commander. It's just a letter from home." "Oh." A hint of ambiguity flashed across Wei Chou's face. He smiled and said, "That's true. Commander has been in Earthstar Province for more than 10 days. Perhaps Her Highness misses you." "Don't talk nonsense." Lin Muyu glared at him. He knew very well that no matter how much Qin Yin loved him, he was the commander of the Qin Empire, and Qin Yin was the empress. If he didn't care about Qin Yin's reputation and status, he would be too selfish. No matter where and when, he had to protect the dignity of Her Highness Qin Yin, the Empress. He opened the envelope and took out the letter. There was a familiar handwriting on it. Qin Yin's calligraphy was learned from Qin Jin, and now it had a style of its own. The handwriting was delicate and powerful, and every word seemed to hit the depths of Lin Muyu's heart. "Brother Yu has been gone for many days and hasn't written any letters. Xiao Yin is very worried and misses Brother Yu very much. I don't know how Brother Yu is doing. The devil race is entrenched in the Qinling Mountains. The rebel army of Iha Nation is being massacred, and Brother Yu is leading the Longdan army camp to battle at the borders. Xiao Yin misses him every day, and I wish I could fly to Brother Yu's side and accompany him all the time. However, there are tens of thousands of memorials every day, and I can't split myself. Grandfather and Duke Lan are fighting for the farmland and merchants in Lanyan City, and they are very vexed. Even though Brother Yu is a bloodbath, Xiao Yin wants to stay by your side even more. My longing is constantly occupying the bottom of Xiao Yin's heart, and I hope that you will return." Lin Muyu's heart was filled with warmth when he read the letter. It was as if he could hear Qin Yin whispering in his ear. With the longing of a beauty from afar, it seemed that no matter how much blood and sweat he shed on the front lines, it was all worth it. At the side, Qin Yin touched his nose and smiled. "Big brother, what did Her Highness say? Did she give us some mission?" "No." Lin Muyu folded the letter and said, "Just to talk about family matters." Fengshi smiled and said, "Could it be that Her Highness only remembered to tell Commander about her longing, but forgot to pass down any missions? You guys should stop gossiping." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and asked, "How is the training of the All-Shield Spear Cavalry Battalion going?" Su Jiantao cupped his fists. "Our progress is godly. Don't worry, Darren. We can face the devil race at any time. With these 300 All-Shield Spear Cavalry Battalion, even on the battlefield, we will not be at a disadvantage like before." "Good." Lin Muyu stood up and said, "Pass down my order. Prepare the ballistae, and other siege weapons. Let the All-Shield Spear Cavalry Battalion train well. 3 days later, we will attack Mosong Pass." "Yes." South Ridge, a towering steel wall stretched from east to west, protecting the land of South Ridge Iha country behind it. White clouds floated past, and the steel wall seemed even more tranquil. Within the borders of Swift White Province, behind a section of the steel wall, was a flourishing city. It was Sunset City, once one of the 7 famous cities of the empire. It was the fief of Sunset Marquis Man Ning. Sunset City had a large population and a strong military force. The territory under its jurisdiction was also very vast and rich. In the city, a group of people and horses slowly left. Thousands of armored horsemen protected a carriage as they slowly moved towards the steel wall. Inside the steel wall, smoke rose in spirals. The Iha nation's camp was connected together, and they were cooking. Lord Sunset Marquis has arrived. With a loud shout, a group of people galloped out of the camp. At the front of the group was a high-ranking general wearing black armor. There were 4 golden stars on his collar. It was one of the 7 marshals of Iha country, Ding Shi. With a respectful expression, Ding Shi came to the front of the carriage and cupped his fists. Ding Shi greets the Marquis. The curtain was slowly lifted, revealing an old face inside. It was Count Xiang, Man Ning, who had been conferred the title of Marquis Xiang after mobilizing his troops and causing the chaos in Lanyan City. His old face was bloated and full of vitality, and he was hugging a beautiful concubine beside him. He smiled and said, "Marshal Ding Shi, you don't have to be so polite. How is the situation of the steel wall?" "Everything is fine. Why did the Marquis come this time?" "I want to climb the steel wall to take a look." "Yes. I will arrange it right away." "Thank you, Marshal." "You're welcome." With the help of several attendants, Man Ning's swollen body slowly climbed the stone steps to the steel wall. Standing on the towering wall and looking into the distance, he saw wisps of green smoke rising. "Is that smoke?" Man Ning asked. Ding Shi shook his head slowly. "Marquis, that is not smoke. That is the smoke of the demons burning Red Earth City." "Red Earth City." Man Ning's hand trembled as he rested on his concubine's snow-white arm. He squinted and looked hard. "Has Red Earth City fallen?" "Yes, Marquis." After the demons defeated Long Qinlin's army and broke through the Qinling Mountains, according to the Commander-in-Chief's orders, all the land north of the wall has fallen into the hands of the demons. "Is that so?" The fat on Man Ning's face twisted together and he revealed an ugly smile. "It's all right. Red Earth City is barren and the women of the lowly people here are ugly. If it has fallen, so be it. Marshal Ding Shi, please guard the wall and protect Sunset City. This is the Commander-in-Chief's highest order." "Yes, I understand." Ding Shi cupped his fists respectfully. His lowered head was full of helplessness and anger. Chapter 392. Year 7734, November 18th. The tactics of the cone shield spear cavalry battalion had been trained to perfection. Early in the morning, in the middle of autumn, Lin Muyu personally led the 20,000 soldiers of the Courage of the Dragon Battalion and headed straight for the Black Pine Pass. The Mozong Pass was the largest pass between the Earthly Star province of the Empire and the Swift White province of Iha country. Whoever could seize the Mozong Pass would take the initiative in the war. However, the Mozong Pass was occupied by demons with over 3,000 armor demons. Before noon, the army arrived at Mozong Pass. Dong, dong, dong. For the first time, the Longdan army camp began to call for battle. As the sunlight dispersed the mist, the vision became very clear. The demon generals on the gate of Black Pine Pass roared crazily towards the city with spears in their hands. At the same time, the gate of the city was opened rapidly. Armored demons walked out of the pass. They didn't rush to attack. Instead, they lined up and prepared to fight. At the same time, battle flags fluttered above the city gate. A demon general was beating a battle drum with a very unpleasant sound. Damn. Wei Chou grinned. The drums of the demons are like farts. So unpleasant. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. Cavalry camp with cone shield spear. Prepare for battle. Su Jiantao and other cavalrymen with heavy shields slowly moved to the front of the formation. Their war horses were all carefully selected, or they could not bear such a terrible weight. Slowly swinging the pear blossom spear, Lin Muyu's white cloak behind her gently fluttered, and she quickly joined the ranks of the cavalry camp with cone shield spear. Wei Chou hurriedly said, "Commander, you are going to fight again. Don't forget, you are the commander of the 3 armies. You can't take the risk yourself." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu confidently turned back and smiled. "Don't forget, I am a sanctuary, and the armor demons can't do anything to me. With my participation, we can reduce the losses of the Longdan army camp. Wei Chou, the commander of the cavalry camp with cone shield spear, will attack. You command the rest of the brothers in the Longdan army camp to support and prepare for the charge of the armor demons. In this battle, we must annihilate the demons at all costs." "Yes. Don't worry, Commander. Sound the drums. Start the battle." The beating of the drums became more and more intense. Lin Muyu raised the pear blossom spear in her hand and shouted, "Spear cavalry with cone shield. Maintain your formation and kill the enemy with me." Everyone raised their shields, their faces filled with killing intent as they roared in unison. "Long live the Empire! Long live the Empress!" The conical shield spear-wielding cavalry battalion started to move faster and faster. Soon, they reached the speed of cavalry tactics. In front of them were almost 3,000 armored demons. Roar! Facing the human army with weird shields, the armored demons were infuriated. They quickly raised their weapons and rushed over. Lin Muyu walked at the forefront, surrounded by the power of the gourd wall and the god-binding shackles. With a slight shake of the pear blossom spear in her hand, she directly executed the dragon-taming spear techniques, seeking the Wei stance. The long spear pierced into the neck of an armor demon like a mad dragon. A fierce whirlwind aura erupted, instantly shattering the head and neck. The 3 armor demons behind her almost simultaneously raised their long spears and pierced over. They recognized Lin Muyu, the commander of the Legion. Charging stance. Suddenly spurring the warhorse, treading snow's speed increased a lot. Brandishing the pear blossom spear, she knocked away the weapons of 3 armor demons in a row. After that, Lin Muyu rushed into the crowd of armor demons without looking back. Her long spear pierced into the necks of the armor demons one after another, causing blood to blossom. On her side, Su Jiantao and other soldiers of the Longdan army camp were also fighting with the armor demons. Ding, ding, ding. As expected, the thrust of the armor demons' long spears was blocked by the conical shields. Meanwhile, the Longdan army camp soldiers' long spears, which were refined with white diamonds, pierced into the chest of the armor demons mercilessly. In an instant, the ground was covered with blood. The 2 troops collided with each other and fought fiercely. Meanwhile, the sound of the arrow boxes kept resounding behind them. Wei Chou led the rest of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp to start a positional battle. Raising her iron fist, Lin Muyu operated her Xian energy and suddenly punched out. Chaos of all lives. The Xian energy formed a powerful impact, making a group of armor demons fly back. However, the vitality of the armor demons was too strong. Many armor demons were not killed after being hit by the first brilliance. They roared and waved their weapons to launch an attack. However, they were pushed back by the cavalry with conical shields and spears, and then were killed by the spears. What could they do? The heavy cavalry charging at full speed was too terrifying. If these armor demons couldn't defeat the heavy cavalry, they could only be killed. Lin Muyu led the cavalry with conical shields and spears to rush back and forth in the group of armor demons. She swung her pear blossom spear with scarlet blood. The 12 movements of dragon-taming spear skill was indeed the best choice in charging and breaking the enemy's formation. When she used Hongchuan move, charging move and breaking move one by one, even experienced battle generals couldn't defend against her, not to mention these armor demons who only knew how to rush with brute force. The battle was very fierce. In the blink of an eye, the Black Pine Pass had been covered with the corpses of armor demons and human soldiers. Fortunately, the individual cultivation of the cavalry with conical shields and spears was not bad. Therefore, they suffered a relatively small loss. However, a large number of armor demons behind them launched an attack on the troops of Wei Chou and Qin Yan, causing them to suffer a heavy loss. However, the Longdan army camp soldiers had made up their mind to kill the armor demons today. They would not retreat anymore. They just fought the armor demons at the risk of their lives. The arrow boxes were launched again and again, greatly reducing the number of armor demons. At the same time, the ballistae and bolts also launched attacks on the garrisons of the armor demons on the fortress, causing miserable howls in the air. The fierce battle lasted until the afternoon. Lin Muyu was covered with the blood of the armor demons. She couldn't remember how many armor demons she had killed. Finally, the morale of the armor demons gradually weakened. The few remaining armor demons were also surrounded and shot to death by the heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp. With a boom, the gate of the fortress collapsed. Qin Yan broke the gate himself and seized the Black Pine Pass. Enter the city and kill all the demons. Leave no one alive. Lin Muyu entered the city with her bloody spear. Yes, sir. Wei Chou waved his arm while a large batch of Longdan army camp entered the city. However, the armor demons were armor demons after all. Hundreds of armor demons in the city roared and fought desperately. Many of them had lost their arms or legs. They waved their weapons and fought with the cavalries with shields and spears. Finally, they were killed one by one. It was very tragic. 1 hour later, there were no more armor demons left in the Black Pine Pass. Fengxi, Su Jiantao and the others quickly seized the two sides of the pass and put the Empire's purple Yinhua flag on the city wall. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp also entered the fortress one by one and began to rest. Outside the city, a large number of armor demons whose fangs had been knocked out were piled up and buried together. Phew! Wei Chou breathed heavily and walked over with his hand on the hilt of his sword. His face was full of joy. Commander! The Black Pine Pass is ours. Lin Muyu also let out a sigh of relief. The fact proved that the armor demons were not invincible. As long as the human army was elite enough with the arrow boxes, ballistae and other equipment, they still had the power to fight. How many people did we lose? He asked slowly. Wei Chou said, 87 people of the cavalries with shields and spears died and 114 were injured. The whole army lost more than 740 people and nearly 2,000 people were injured. Do we need to take a rest and then fight again? Send someone to Bugu City and mobilize Tang Shi's army to guard the Black Pine Pass. Tomorrow we will attack the other two passes and take back the occupation of Qinling Mountains in the Earthstar province from the demons. Yes, I will arrange it right now. After 3 consecutive days of fierce fighting, the 3 passes in the Longdan army camp all fell into the hands of the Longdan army camp. Meanwhile, Tang she transferred 30,000 troops from Cold Star City and stationed 10,000 troops at each pass to guard the southern gate of the empire. After a few days' rest, Longdan Camp recovered its battle strength once again. Although they had lost almost 2,000 people in the previous battles, they were not severely injured. Conversely, after demons lost the 3 passes, almost 10,000 armored demons were killed. There were 2 fangs of armored demons in the camp of Longdan Camp, which could be proved by the 2 tusks of armored demons in the camp of Longdan Camp. After waking up, Lin Muyu felt refreshed. The fighting energy in her body had recovered to the peak state. After stepping out of the central military tent in the Black Pine Pass, she saw Wei Cho waiting outside. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Commander, you're awake. I have already ordered the people of the Spiritual Fire Department to prepare meat soup and bread. Breakfast will be ready soon." "Well, send my breakfast to the city pass. I want to go up and have a look." "Yes." It was early winter, and the weather was very cold. Standing on the Black Pine Pass and looking to the south, everywhere was fiery red. That was the color of maple leaves falling all over the ground. The vast rivers and mountains of the Qin Empire were so magnificent, but now it was stepped on by the demons. It was really a pity. On the side, a guard respectfully held a plate and said, "Commander, breakfast." "Thank you very much." Lin Muyu picked up the bowl of meat soup, took a sip, and put it on the cold battlement. She grabbed the bread and took a bite. After drinking the hot soup, she felt warm all over. She couldn't help but smile and said, "The food in the Longdan army camp is really delicious." Wei Cho was a little speechless. "Commander, the food in the Imperial Army is the same, pork soup and bread. Moreover, the Spiritual Fire Department that Duke Lan arranged for the Longdan army camp is not the best cook. The meat soup is tasteless." "Really? I don't feel." On the side, Su Jiantao smiled. "Sir Wei Cho, you may not know this, but the commander is in a good mood after taking 3 passes. That's why everything tastes good." "Haha, yes." Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. "General Su, you have made a great contribution in training the spear and shield cavalry. I will remember this. When we return to the imperial capital, Her Highness will naturally reward you." Su Jiantao cupped his fists and said, "This subordinate only wishes to follow the commander to conquer the south and recover the land for the empire. That way, I won't have wasted my life as a man. I have nothing else to ask for." "No." Lin Muyu sincerely said, "Even so, I still need Jinyin coins and a wife." Su Jiantao smiled knowingly. "Then, this subordinate thanks the commander." Lin Muyu drank another mouthful of hot soup and chewed on the bread. However, her eyes were staring at the south with deep desire. Wei Cho couldn't help but smile and said, "General Su, prepare to pass down the order. The 3 armies are ready to set off again in a few days." "Ah!" Su Jiantao was stunned. "We just conquered 3 passes and we are going to set off again." Wei Cho said, "The commander has been looking at the south. Don't you understand the commander's intention? Commander, are you planning to take back the cities of Iha Nation from the hands of the devil race?" "That's right." Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent and said, "Order the preparation. We will set off tomorrow to attack Huayue City and put this beautiful city back on the map of the Qin Empire." "Yes, Commander." Chapter 393. Tuck, tuck, tuck. A rider entered the Mozong Pass from the south and went straight to the commander's tent. The golden emblem of the Longdan army camp on his shoulder looked very beautiful under the moonlight. He was in a hurry and sweat oozed out of his forehead. He took the opportunity to wipe his sweat the moment he opened the tent and knelt down on one knee. He said respectfully, "Commander, the news has been confirmed. How many demons are guarding the fiery moon city?" Lin Muyu looked up at him. "Not too many people." The scout cupped his fists and said, "Most of the civilians in the fiery moon city have been killed. Many of them have become the food of the armor demons. There are at most 500 armor demons guarding the city. I heard from the civilians that there were at least 10,000 armor demons attacking the city. But not long ago, these armor demons rushed to the east, which is the direction of the Bai Ling city. It seems that they received an emergency call. To the Bai Ling city? Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Is there a war in the Bai Ling city?" Wei Chou said, "Not for the time being. But not long ago, our scouts sent back a letter saying that Long Qianlin is strengthening the training of the 50,000 dragon riders. It seems that he wants to have a head-on battle with the demons. Judging from the time, the battle should have started now. This is the only reason for the demons to retreat." "I see," Lin Muyu said lightly. "Long Qianlin must have eaten the courage of a leopard. He dares to fight the demons head-on? Lei Chong should be there too. Lei Chong will personally supervise the battle. Long Qianlin almost has no chance. I don't know. What should we do?" "According to the original plan, send out 5,000 soldiers tomorrow to recover the Fiery Moon City." "Yes." In the middle of the night, the Longdan army camp was silent. Everyone had fallen asleep. Everyone knew that they would start another journey the next day. This time, they would enter the territory of the Iha country to fight with the demons. Not only would they face the armor demons, but they might also face the army of the Iha country. So they must not take it lightly. However, there were always people who couldn't sleep in the middle of the night. Inside the stable, a lonely figure sat on the wooden railing next to the manger, holding fodder to feed the warhorses. The cold moonlight carved out a clear and bright face. It was Wei Chou. Beside him, a person walked out of the darkness with a hand on his sword. He smiled and said, "Lord Wei Chou, are you still not asleep?" Wei Chou raised his head and saw that it was Qin Yan. He smiled and said, "Isn't little prince still awake?" "I can't sleep." Qin Yan grinned and said with a smile, "That's why I came out for a walk. I believe that Lord Wei Chou sleeps and eats well every day. To think that you did not sleep so late today. Is there something on your mind?" Wei Chou smiled with tacit understanding. "You're the same. Commander only brought 5,000 Longdan army camp brothers to conquer Fiery Moon City, entering deep into Iha Nation's territory alone. This isn't his personality at all. Little Prince Qin Yan should also know what Lord Commander wants to do, right?" Qin Yan clenched his teeth and said, "At first, I thought Big Brother was crazy, daring to charge into the heart of Iha Nation with just one Longdan army camp. Behind that steel protective wall is Sunset City. There are over 150,000 Iha Nation soldiers stationed there, and the one leading them is Ding Shi. Our Longdan army camp only has a mere 10,000 people. Going would be suicide. Until tonight when we received the news. Haha. That's right. One news and Commander lost his sense of propriety." Wei Chou heavily punched the wooden railing. His face became distorted as he said, "Lu Zhao, that bastard, is in Sunset City. The place where he cut off Qin Lei's head is also in Sunset City. Lord Commander regards Qin Lei as his brother. It is impulsive for him to go to Fiery Moon City, but as a man, I admire Commander's courage. If this trip to Fiery Moon City ends in death, I, Wei Chou, will not regret it." Qin Yan nodded. "For Big Brother's head, Big Brother dares to exchange his life for it. What do I, Qin Yan, have to hesitate? Accompanying Big Brother to die in battle under the walls of Iha Nation is perhaps the best ending for me." Wei Chou muttered, "I'm just worried. Lord Commander doesn't want us to take the risk together, and we'll go to Sunset City alone in the end. This is the situation I'm most worried about. Although, Lord is skilled and bold, but..." Wei Chou revealed a pained expression. He clenched his teeth and didn't say anything else. "Don't worry." Qin Yan patted Wei Chou's shoulder and said, "We are all veterans of the Longdan army camp. We will live and die together. I believe in Big Brother, and I believe in you. Sleep early." And in the sky, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse, but no one knew how many changes were happening on this land. In Southridge Province, the steel protective walls were bright under the moonlight, but the land was already in chaos. The sound of war drums reached the heavens, and on the ground, Countless Iha nation cavalry were connected to each other by heavy chains, coordinating with the chariots charging forward. In the demon camp, countless ferocious-looking armored demons brandished their weapons as they charged forward, but they fell to the ground one after another under the entanglement of the iron chains. Immediately after, the sharp blades of the dragon riders pierced through their backs. The armored demon's outer shell was admittedly hard, and normal blades and swords couldn't penetrate it, but if they were hacked many times, they could still break through the shell. Roar, roar. Amidst the sound of the demon's war drums, another wave of armored demons raised their blunt weapons and charged toward the dragon rider camp. Within the group of armored demons, a general wearing golden armor swung his war hammer, and with an angry roar, smashed a chariot into pieces. The war hammer surged with streaks of black fighting energy, and the demonic fighting energy twisted the chariot and the soldiers' bodies into a pile of minced meat. It was a tragic sight to behold. This general was unstoppable, and a bloody demonic aura enshrouded his body. He swung his war hammer, grabbing the chains, and dragged dozens of dragon riders away. The heavy cavalry collided with each other, and blood and flesh flowed everywhere. Emogu! The general roared loudly. Countless armored demons flapped their wings and flew toward the dense mass of heavy cavalry in front of them. In an instant, dust flew into the sky, and the great battle that darkened the sky made everyone feel extremely shaken. On the steel protective wall, a group of Iha country's generals stood majestically, watching the chaotic battle below the city wall. All of them frowned. No one knew the outcome of this battle, and no one could predict the final result. Qin Yi was wearing a robe embroidered with a golden dragon. Watching the fierce battle below the city wall, he couldn't help but frown and ask, "General Long, do we really only have this choice?" Long Qianlin cupped his hands and said, "The iron chain formation restrains each other, and it can bring out the human race's power to the extreme. I'm afraid that only this kind of battle strategy can contend with the demon army of the armored demons. Commander, please believe in me. If we don't defeat this powerful armored demon army, I'm afraid we can only guard the steel protective wall forever." Qin Yi's eyes flickered a bit, and he said, "Actually, we don't have to fight the demon race to determine victory or defeat. Commander." Long Qianlin naturally knew what Qin Yi was thinking, and he said indifferently, "The demon race has two great armies. The Leichong army is attacking the Iha country, and the Qianfeng army is attacking the empire. No matter which side loses, the human race is completely finished. This battle is very important to us, and I hope that you can be as determined as the subordinate to exterminate the demon race. This is our land, and we can't let this group of stinky cockroaches occupy it." Qin Yi sighed and said, "Yes, as you wish. Do your best to fight." On the side, the young Qin Huan, who was wearing a golden marshal's armor, cupped his hands and said, "Father, why don't you let me lead the cavalry to help you fight? In my opinion, the dragon riders have no confidence in winning against nearly 100,000 armored demons." "Nonsense." Qin Yi frowned and said, "You've just entered the battlefield, so you should learn more tactics from General Long. It's not your turn to go to the battlefield yet." "But father." "Shut up." Qin Yi pointed below the city and said, "That demon general wearing golden armor is Lei Chong. Huaner, if you think you're Lei Chong's match, then I won't stop you. Go ahead and fight." Below the city, Lei Chong's war hammer smashed several heavy cavalrymen into a pile of minced meat. The demonic aura of blood surged, setting off waves of energy that sent dozens of cavalrymen and their horses flying. The angry roars of the armored demons soared into the sky. Qin Huan couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart, and he said with a frown, "I know I was wrong. Father is right in teaching me." On the side, General Li Qianshuan cupped his hands and said, "Commander, the young commander's intention to fight for the country is good. It's a good thing that you have such a tiger son. It's just that the young commander is still too young and needs some experience. I hope that you won't blame the young commander." Qin Yi nodded and said, "I know. Pass down the order." Have the soldiers of Hundred Ridge City prepare for battle and support the Dragon Riders at any time. The Dragon Riders are our lifeline, and we can't let them be destroyed outside the city. Long Qianlin said respectfully, "Yes, Commander." At this moment, a bird descended from the sky and landed on Long Qianlin's shoulder. He took out the letter tube and glanced at it. His expression was neither sad nor happy, as if there was no news at all. "What's wrong?" Qin Yi asked. Long Qianlin cupped his hands and said, "Reporting to Commander, I've just received a letter from the Earthstar province. Lin Muyu has led 20,000 soldiers of the Empire's Longdan army camp to fight against the demons. She has won several battles and killed nearly 10,000 armor demons of the demon race. She has already taken back the 3 passes including Black Pine Pass in the western Qinling Mountains." "It's Lin Muyu again." Qin Yi's eyes were cold as he said, "The 3 passes were originally in the hands of our Iha country, but now they have fallen into the hands of the Empire. This hateful Lin Muyu?" On the side, Li Qianxuan said, "The steel protective wall of the Swift White Province is guarded by Marshal Ding Shi. Don't worry, Commander. Marshal Ding Shi is a veteran of hundreds of battles. Lin Muyu won't get any benefits from him." "I know." Qin Yi muttered to himself before saying, "Send a letter to Ding Shi. Once Lin Muyu makes any movements, order Ding Shi to immediately lead the army out of the steel protective wall and kill them. I want Lin Muyu's head." Long Qianlin couldn't help but be surprised. "Commander, Lin Muyu is a rare famous general. If she can be used by us to fight against the demon race, wouldn't that be better?" "Ha ha ha." Qin Yi couldn't help but laugh as he patted Long Qianlin's shoulder. "If I kill your godfather, will you still be loyal to me?" This? Long Qianlin's sword-like brows were tightly locked together. "Will Commander please reconsider? This subordinate only thinks that Lin Muyu is a talent that can be used." "Understood." Qin Yi was somewhat impatient as he looked at the battlefield that was filled with the sounds of killing and said, "Send a letter to Marshal Ding Shi to capture Lin Muyu alive and destroy the Longdan army camp." "Yes, Commander." Chapter 394. Early in the morning, the sun shone like strands of golden ribbons in the forest. The warhorses moved slowly under the mottled shadows of the trees. Lin Muyu held the reins in one hand and the sword on his waist with the other. The Imperial commander's armor was shining under the morning light. The 3 six-pointed stars on his collar were even more dazzling. He squinted his eyes lazily and followed the large group of people. Suddenly, he asked, "How far are we from Fiery Moon City?" 100 miles. "If we rush at full speed, we can reach it in 2 hours. Wei Chou said solemnly, "No need to rush. Just walk slowly and let the soldiers maintain their strength." Lin Muyu slowly exhaled. A wisp of turbid doqi was exhaled along with this breath. This was the effect of training the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. Training over and over again could make his doqi even purer. It was far from what ordinary practitioners could compare with. Looking at the distant forest, Lin Muyu said faintly, "Wei Chou, send out scouts and scouting birds. You must grasp every movement within a 100-mile radius. After all, this is the territory of the Iha Nation's traders and not our own territory." "Yes, Commander. Don't worry. This subordinate has made arrangements." "That's good." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth raised. She said, "Don't be in a hurry to attack after we reach Fiery Moon City. First assemble the arrow boxes and use them to shoot for a while. Then, send out the spear-wielding cavalry to fight. This will minimize our losses against the armor demons." "Yes, this subordinate will immediately pass on the order." "Yes." On the side, Qin Yan licked his lips. The doqi in his body revolved and his fighting spirit was extremely high. "We can fight against those dirty cockroaches again. Big brother, this time, no matter what, you must let me charge at the front lines. You cannot let a dozen personal guards watch over me. I am a champion. If I don't charge and break through enemy lines, what use is there for me in the Longdan army camp?" "Yes." Lin Muyu glanced at him and said with a smile, However, Ayen, you must be careful. After all, there is not much of the Qin bloodline left. You are a true descendant of the family. Nothing must happen to you. Big brother, don't worry. I know. Qin Yen held the long spear that was circulating with light, his gaze looking in the direction of the fiery moon city in the distance, and said, Elder brother died for the country, and father also died together with His Majesty the late Emperor at the fairy lake. Although Qin Yen is a little prince, I will also contribute to the empire, and use my military merits to exchange for Her Highness Qin Yin's reward for me. Elder brother, what do you think? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and did not say anything else. Qin Yan's fingers were like claws as he grabbed the back of this person's head and threw him off the horse. Immediately, Wei Chou, Feng Shi, and the other generals of the Longdan army camp surrounded him. I didn't do anything. I've never surrendered to Iha country. No, I've never surrendered to the country established by Qin Yi, that bastard. Please believe me. I'm just an insignificant hunter. He was so scared that his face turned pale. As soon as he landed, he knelt down and begged for mercy in front of Lin Muyu, who was wearing a commander's armor. It's okay. Stand up first. Lin Muyu raised her hand, and a Saint Realm cyclone slowly rose up, lifting the man up from the ground. She then looked at him with a gentle smile. Brother Hunter, have you been to Fire Moon City? I have. The hunter's face was still very ugly, but it was much better than before. Lin Muyu continued. I'm the commander of the Longdan army camp under the command of Her Highness the Empress of the Qin Empire. My name is Lin Muyu. This time, I led the army to defeat the Devil Race's defending army at the north of the mountain ridge. Therefore, I plan to kill my way to the south of the mountain ridge and take back the cities that were occupied by the Devil Race. I want to ask you, what's the situation in Fire Moon City now? Do you know? The hunter shuddered and said, I'm just a hunter. I hunted some badgers and wild hares. They were all sent to Fire Moon City to be sold for copper coins. Those Devil Race. Did the Devil Race buy food from human hunters? Lin Muyu asked in surprise. The hunter shook his head. No, those Devil Race known as armor demons never buy food. They only know how to rob. I sell my prey to the craftsmen that stayed in the city. Craftsmen? Lin Muyu was stunned. What's the situation? The hunter said, I don't know either. I only know that it seems that the nobles in the Devil Race gave an order that every time they pillaged a city of Iha country, they can't start a massacre. They must capture all the stonemasons, blacksmiths, bow makers, carpenters, and doctors, lock them together, and then send them to the Devil Race's territory. However, a few days ago, more than half of the thousands of Devil Race soldiers stationed in Fire Moon City left, and they didn't have time to take these craftsmen away. Therefore, these craftsmen have been living in the city, although they are locked in the city and can't leave. How many craftsmen are there in total? Lin Muyu asked. About 20,000 people. Originally, Fiery Moon City had a population of 150,000. Alas, only 20,000 people were left after being slaughtered by the Devil Clan. Those damn beasts didn't even let off women and children. So that's how it is. I got it. Lin Muyu fished out 5 Jinyin coins and tossed them to him. Brother Hunter, we're going to attack Fire's Moon City. Swords have no eyes, so don't return to Fire's Moon City. Take this money and hide in the mountains for a while. You can return to Fire's Moon City when the battle is over. Okay? The hunter's hands trembled. He raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu, saying, Madam, will you really kill the Devil Race and avenge our relatives who were killed? I will. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked into the distance, saying lightly, We are soldiers of the Qin Empire. Protecting the Empire's territory is our duty. Go quickly. Yes. The hunter turned around and left. He didn't even dare to look back, as if he was afraid that Qin Yen would go and capture him again. Big brother, the situation has been confirmed. Shall we go? Qin Yen said. Yes, let's go. At noon, a small city with a red city wall appeared in the mountains. All the villages and towns near and far had been looted by the devil race. It was hard to see living people, not even corpses. Armored demons fed on humans. Although it was cruel, it seemed to be a natural advantage for them. At least it was an advantage in times of war. Looking from afar, many armored demons were walking on the city wall. They seemed to have found the traces of the Longdan army camp. They all roared at the foot of the city wall. The city gate was also opened. Many armored demons began to gather at the foot of the city wall. It seemed that they were ready to fight. There were less than 500 armored demons in this group. Additionally, no advanced demon was giving orders here. They were just a bunch of idiots defending the city, which saved a lot of trouble. When they were about 1.5 miles away from the city wall, the 5,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp stopped quickly. Under the order of Wei Chou, they started to assemble the arrow boxes. Then, a group of people pushed the arrow boxes forward. They brought 50 arrow boxes in total. The heavy arrow boxes rolled over the grassland at the foot of the city wall. The black exit of the arrow boxes pointed straight at the armored demons in the distance. Keep approaching and wait for them to charge. Lin Muyu put her hand on the hilt of her sword and said lightly with a smile. They moved forward slowly. When they were less than 500 meters away from the armored demons, they finally couldn't stand it anymore. Howl! The roar seemed to shake the air. It was deafening. The next moment, the armored demons raised their weapons and rushed over crazily without any formation. They only had the instinct to kill. However, this was also the foundation of their powerful fighting force. Ready, launch! Wei Chou roared when they were less than 100 meters away from the armored demons. With the constant sound of springs, pitch-black steel arrows pierced through the bodies of the armored demons one after another. Blood splashed in all directions. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the armored demons in the front row had been killed. The charging speed was too fast. Lin Muyu unsheathed her dragon spirit sword without any hesitation as she shouted, "Cavalrymen with conical shields and spears, go!" A group of heavy cavalrymen of the Courage Dragon Battalion with all shields launched attacks one after another. Of course, their power was extraordinary. Bang, bang, bang. After the all shields blocked the assassination of the armored demon, the white diamond weapons immediately pierced through the armored demon's heart. This group of cavalrymen with all shields and spears were all experts with profound cultivation bases. Now that they had formed a battle formation, their battle strength was naturally amazing. Lin Muyu rushed to the front of the crowd. She gently raised her palm and 3 glorious calamity whizzed out, smashing more than a dozen armored demons into pieces. She raised her long sword and with a crack, an armored demon's head flew into the sky. The armored demon died so fast that the mucus in its mouth was even splashing in the air, making it look ferocious and funny. As the cavalrymen with conical shields and spears swept past, Lin Muyu also quickly used the 3rd glorious energy for 4 times. She felt a burst of discomfort in her body. After all, the backfire of the 7 glorious energy was very terrible, so she didn't use it anymore. Instead, she used the Pear Blossom Spear to kill the last few armored demons. When she looked back, only a few of the 500 armored demons were left. This time, the loss of the Longdan army camp was negligible. Roar! On the city wall, an armored demon whizzed down and chopped at Lin Muyu's neck with the battle axe in his hand. "Be careful, my lord." Wei Chou reacted quickly. He raised his hand and shot an arrow through the armored demon's neck, killing it on the spot. Lin Muyu raised her palm. The true dragon original fire surged and directly burned the armored demon into ashes. The golden gourd wall rose and swept away the ashes of the armored demon's corpse. "Enter the city." Wei Chou held the longbow and looked around. His face was a bit more complacent. Although there were only 500 armored demons in the whole world, only the Longdan army camp could kill 500 armored demons without any loss. Chapter 395. Boom! When the Longdan army camp entered the city, the north gate of Fiery Moon City had already fallen apart. The gate had already been damaged when the armored demons broke into the city a few months ago. Now that it was hit by the heavy shields of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp, It was expected that it would fall apart. Taksha's 4 hooves stepped on the broken gate and slowly entered. Lin Muyu held the reins and looked at the ashes in the city. The demon race must have set fire when they entered the city. The granaries, temples, blacksmiths, and other facilities of Fiery Moon City had all been turned into ruins. Wei Chao's pair of starry eyes looked at everything around him. He frowned and said, "Commander, this is a complete ruin. It's impossible to defend. We shouldn't waste time here." "I know." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "The demon race may come back at any time, so we must quickly move the people here. Send someone to gather all the people in Fiery Moon City and leave the city from the north gate. Send 100 people to escort them across the Qinling Mountains to live in Bugu City." "Yes." Wei Chou frowned and asked, "Madam, will the city lord of Bugu City accept these people? After all, these people used to be citizens of the Iha country. They are hated by our empire. I'm worried that the city lord will kill these people." "It's okay. I'll write a letter." "Yes." At dusk, nearly 20,000 hungry craftsmen were found. Just as the hunter had said, this group of people had their own skills. Some were stonemasons, some were carpenters, and some were bow makers. These were all commoners who could be directly recruited by the empire's army. Moreover, the empire was building a steel wall, so there was a high demand for blacksmiths and stonemasons. At this moment, these people were even more precious than gold. Swoosh, swoosh. Lin Muyu swept away a blacksmith table that had been burnt black and put a piece of cloth on it. Then, she took a pen and ink from Wei Chou and carefully wrote a letter to the city lord of Bugu City. "Sir Wang Ju, these people are all refugees of Fiery Moon City. Each of them has some skills, so I've decided to move them to Bugu City and make them citizens of the empire. I hope you can arrange it well and don't hurt them." Lin Muyu, after he finished writing, he took out a general seal from his cosmos sack and stamped it with the blood-red ink that Qin Yan was holding. Then he rushed into the granary, slaughtered several armored demons guarding the grain, and distributed the grain to civilians. Until late at night, 100 cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp slowly escorted 20,000 civilians out of the city. Almost all the valuable things in the Fiery Moon City had been moved away. These civilians were pulling countless items like food, gold coins, ironware, etc. On the city wall, Lin Muyu watched as the refugees left. The cold wind of the night blew on his face like a knife. He gently pressed his hand on the city wall and opened the military map again. Using the starlight, he explored the cities on the map. Finally, his finger gently pressed on a city mark on the map and did not leave. Wei Chou stood at the side and said with tacit understanding, "Xingju City is an extremely wealthy city. Originally, it had a population of over 200,000. Now, there shouldn't be many left. Commander, are you planning to attack Xingju City?" "Yes." Lin Muyu looked at him with clear eyes and smiled. "Send someone to scout around Xingju City. See how many armor demons are guarding Xingju City. There shouldn't be many left." Wei Chou too said, "The armored demon army has almost turned out in full strength to fight against Long Chenlin in the direction of 100 Ridge City. Naturally, there won't be too many guards here, but Lord, Xingju City is too close to the Sunset City that Ding Shi is guarding. From the steel protective wall to Xingju City, it would take no more than 4 hours of riding. Even the infantry can arrive in half a day. If we attack Xingju City, we might have to face the army of Lingnaniha country at any time. I have made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more." Lin Muyu let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let everyone eat and sleep well tonight. Tomorrow morning we will attack Xingju City. Continue to travel light. Bring 3 days' worth of rations and supply troops back to Black Pine Pass." "We don't need to supply?" Wei Chou was stunned. "It doesn't matter. As long as we attack Xingju City within 3 days, we will have plenty of rations. If we fail, we will return to the Empire's territory. It's too dangerous here." "Yes." That night, nearly 5,000 soldiers of the Courage Dragon Battalion slaughtered hundreds of livestock found in the city and cooked pots of meat soup, allowing the soldiers to have a good meal. The war horses were fed with fodder. At midnight, the camp was filled with snoring sounds. The only sound was the hooves of the scouts in the distance. This kind of night was too quiet, so quiet that it made people feel uneasy. Beside the central tent, Lin Muyu did not sleep. Instead, he was lying on a huge millstone, looking up at the starlight. His body stretched naturally, absorbing the power of the stars in the starlight. At the same time, he circulated the do-chi in his body according to the chant of the star arts. However, he was unable to break through the layer of shackles and comprehend the power of the fourth level of the star arts. In the late autumn night, a layer of frost fell on Lin Muyu's face, but it didn't melt. Instead, the layer of astral energy on his face emitted a beautiful luster, reflecting off the frost. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Early in the morning, he woke up to the noisy sounds of hooves and cursing. Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. The one cursing was Fengshi. This fellow had a bad temper. He was currently reprimanding the soldiers of the Spiritual Fire Division for actually burning the army flatbread and wasting rations. "Big brother, it's time to eat." Qin Yan brought over the flatbread and meat soup. There was a large piece of meat bone in the soup bowl. It seemed to be beef, and the aroma filled the air. Lin Muyu received it without hesitation. He was indeed starving after cultivating for an entire night. He drank the soup and ate the meat in big mouthfuls. Meanwhile, Qin Yan gently raised his hand to help Lin Muyu pat off the frost on his shoulder. He let out a warm breath and said with a smile, "Big brother, you didn't rest in the tent for the entire night?" The cultivation of the star arts requires absorbing the power of the stars. What a peculiar martial art, but it's also very strong. Qin Yan snickered. Lin Muyu also smiled and continued to bite on the flatbread. To him, Qin Yan was more like a younger brother. And after Qin Lei died, Qin Yan had indeed treated Lin Muyu as his elder brother. Otherwise, he would not call him big brother. To have such a little prince as a younger brother who had tyrannical strength and was also very loyal, it was not bad either. After finishing a big bowl of meat, Lin Muyu clapped his hands and said, "Pack up. Prepare to continue marching." "Yes." Qin Yan washed the soup bowl and handed it to the soldiers of the Spiritual Fire Division. Following that, he led Takshu over and said with a smile, "Big brother, we'll only be able to reach Star Supreme City around dusk today. Should we attack the city immediately?" Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Take down Star Supreme City before the Fiend Race's army can react. Then, take the good stuff in Star Supreme City and transport it back to North Ridge. Rather than leaving it for the Fiend Race, why not leave it for the Empire?" "Ha, I think so too. Set off." Yes. The army advanced majestically, and the purple Yinhua Empire's flag fluttered in the wind. Meanwhile, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were all in high spirits. Their distinctive swords and armor were full of majesty. The morning light dragged everyone's shadows very long. On a land of death, this army galloped forward, as if bringing a ray of life to this land that had been massacred. Behind the steel protective wall of Sunset City, the Iha Empire's camp was connected. People were shouting and horses neighing, and it was very lively. Between the crisscrossing camps, a row of cavalry quickly entered the central tent. Walking at the front was a high-ranking general with 2 stars on his shoulder, the rank of captaincy. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a face full of beard. His eyes revealed a chilling hostility. With his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, he walked into the tent under the protection of the guards. In front of him was Ding Shi, who was holding a bowl of military meat soup. General Xiong Chao pays his respects to Marshal Ding, he said in a clear voice. Ding Shi raised his head and smiled. He stood up and said, "General Xiong, why have you come to the front barracks? Aren't you accompanying Marshal L.V. Zhao in Sunset City?" Xiong Chao raised his thick eyebrows and said, "Sunset City is full of women. I, Xiong Chao, am a boorish man and cannot stand this. So Marshal L.V. Zhao has ordered me to lead 3,000 cavalry out of the steel protective wall to probe the situation of the demons." "Out of the steel protective wall?" Ding Shi frowned and said, Marshal L.V. Zhao should also understand the danger north of the steel protective wall. As long as the demons send out an army of 1,000, I'm afraid that General Xiong's 3,000 cavalry will not survive. Xiong Chao smiled and said, Marshal Ding is worrying too much. Even though the armor demons are powerful, they are still stupid. As long as we use fire arrows to kill them, how can the armor demons do anything to us? Moreover, we have just received a letter saying that Marshal Long Chenlin's dragon riders have already used the chain formation to fight the main force of Lei Chong's armor demon army outside the city. The commander is personally supervising the battle, so there will not be many demons in the Swift White province. If we do not attack now, I'm afraid we will waste a great opportunity. Ding Shi narrowed his eyes and said, General Xiong really must go to battle? Yes, I have made up my mind. Xiong Chao took out a token arrow and said, This is the token arrow that Marshal L.V. Zhao has given to this general. I hope that Marshal Ding can let us pass. It seems that General is eager to gain merit. Ding Shi smiled and said, But after leaving the steel protective wall, there is nothing that can protect you. Also, to the north of the wall there is not only the demon race but also the Imperial Army. Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp is said to have entered Lingnan. You must be careful. Once you meet the Longdan army camp, do not fight and immediately retreat to the steel protective wall. The Imperial Army? Xiong Chao placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and his face was full of disdain. Marshal Ding has not fought for too long and has lost the spirit of a commander? What is there to be afraid of with just Lin Muyu and the Longdan army camp? Did Marshal Ding forget that in the Battle of Lanyan City, the Longdan army camp and the Imperial Army were killed by our Xiang City army and had to flee in a sorry state? If that Lin Muyu is smart, she will naturally hide from me. If I meet her, Marshal Ding, just wait for this general to come back with Lin Muyu's head to claim the reward. Ding Shi's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. General Xiong, do not underestimate the enemy. Rest assured, Marshal Ding only needs to rest assured. Come, open the door and let General Xiong's men out. Chapter 396. At dusk, dark clouds rolled in the sky above Xingju City. Lightning was faintly discernible, and it seemed as though a heavy rain was about to arrive. On the city wall, armored demons were carrying huge rocks to defend the city. Perhaps only armored demons who were born with great strength could defend the city in such a primitive way. An armored demon general was slowly walking on the city wall with a broken battle axe in his hand. With a pair of bloody eyes, he shouted towards an armored demon whose tusk had been broken, Gambahu Turilaha, Tusna Valley. The armored demon lowered his head respectfully and said, Yes, sir. The general frowned, and his ferocious and terrifying face became even more unsightly. He punched the armored demon in the chest, causing him to retreat several meters. He roared furiously, Gundor Paisai! I don't believe that all of you can understand. When the heavy rain fell, the curtain of night had already fallen. However, in the distance, rows of human cavalry appeared. Banners fluttered in the wind, and the large Qin character on the banners was extremely eye-catching to the demons. After a day of marching, the Longdan army camp had finally arrived at Xingju City. They were about to fight to the death with the hundreds of armored demons in the city. Lin Muyu lifted her cloak, shielding herself from the wind and rain. She narrowed her eyes as she looked at Xingjucheng. She could not help but laugh, as expected of one of the wealthiest cities in Lingnan. The walls are at least 30 meters high. I really don't understand why Qin Yi would hand over a city like Xingjucheng to the demon race. Wei Chou cupped his fists at the side and said, Reporting to Commander, Xingju City originally had a population of 250,000, but now there are only about 100,000 people. The demon clan seems to want to raise these living people as their rations. But the demon clan south that originally had close to 10,000 people stationed in Xingju City have all gone to the Eastern Ridge province as reinforcements. Right now, there are less than 800 demon clans. All right. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. She said, Rest for 2 hours and pack the arrow boxes. After 2 hours, immediately beat the drum and call for a fight. The sky is too dark, and the armor demons are naturally arrogant. They won't be able to stand our provocation. They will come out of the city to fight. Yes. The people in the Longdan army camp didn't have a camp, so they could only eat a little food in the rain. Then they prepared their weapons, horses, shields, and so on. The 50 arrow boxes were also neatly built. They were just waiting for the demons to go out of the city to fight. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of the war drum penetrated the curtain of rain and spread to the top of the city. Instantly, a group of armor demons on the city wall became stunned. After that, they roared towards the city wall. With a sound of squeak, the intact heavy iron gate of the star-conquering city was slowly opened. Armor demons in clumsy armors were holding long spears, battle axes, hammers, and other weapons and were ready for battle. After the order of the armor demon general, they poured out of the city like a tide. He's here. Wei Chao's eyes were stern. Their numbers seemed to exceed our spies. There are almost 1,000 armor demons. It doesn't matter. We can win even if it's less than 2,000 armor demons. Lin Muyu slowly raised her hand and took out the pear blossom spear. The blade of the sacred tool spear was surrounded by a cold aura and was filled with killing intent. This time, Lin Muyu was even more confident because of the roar that came from the different dimension. Awu, awu. A Catasaurus, who had a lifespan of 5,000 years, was actually taking the initiative to ask for battle. With a thought, a space-time crack appeared in the darkness far away. Light purple lightning was darting around the crack and Acatosaurus swaggered out of it. No, it was flying. Its sharp claws danced lightly and its dragon scales shook. Its body was enshrouded in a mysterious mist, supporting its heavy body. When Acatosaurus came to her side, it raised its head to ask for her favor. Lin Muyu touched its head and said with a smile, "In a while, when the demons attack, use the invincible wind cloud wheel to roll over. Be careful, don't hurt the people in our Longdan army camp." Awu! Acatosaurus blinked its eyes, showing that it understood Lin Muyu's words. Finally, about 1,000 demons lined up outside the city and rushed over with a roar. Armor demons were good at field battles outside the city. Relying on this, they could give up the advantage of defending the city and come out to fight. This was the difference between demons and humans. Demons had an absolute advantage in physique. However, they had an absolute disadvantage in IQ. Of course, high-level demons like Qianfeng were excluded. Arrow box. Launch. Wei Chou roared. With the dense sound of springs, dim lights struck towards the charging armor demons one after another, penetrating their bodies and killing over 100 armor demons in a split second. However, the arrow box could only be used for one round in this area. The armor demons had already rushed over and threw their backup weapons from afar. In a split second, the air was filled with spears and battle axes. Spear cavalry. Defend. Lin Muyu roared. Meanwhile, she condensed the wall of the calabash to protect the soldiers of the Longdan army camp behind her. A group of spear-wielding cavalry raised their shields, and for a moment, clanging sounds rang out. The heavy blades even created sparks on the shields, and the force was so great that many spear-wielding cavalry were forced to take a few steps back. However, their cultivations were not low, and they immediately urged their horses to return to the battle formation. Charge! Wei Chou raised the spear beside his warhorse and roared, "Spear Cavalry Battalion, attack!" Nearly 300 spear cavalry galloped forward and collided with the opponents like a tide. As for Lin Muyu, who had the cultivation of the sanctuary realm, she naturally rushed to the front. She gently pushed the pear blossom spear forward, and the Hongchuan style turned into dense pear blossoms which fell on the armor demons and pierced through 3 armor demons in a split second. Meanwhile, she gently raised her left arm and blasted the chaos of all lives. Boom! Another dozen armor demons were seriously injured and retreated. The backfire of the chaos of all lives was nothing to Lin Muyu, who had the strength of her soul. She recovered after a few seconds of rest. She urged her horse to rush forward and quickly launched the second chaos of all lives. To be honest, the Seven Luminaries' mysterious energy was indeed a super-killer move in the battle formation, full of destruction. Beside Lin Muyu, Acatosaurus ran wildly. The red crystal scales on its back flew up like blades. The next moment, its body suddenly curled up and rolled out. Those armor demons had never seen such a monster. They were shocked and then they were crushed by Acatosaurus. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen armor demons died under the attack of the sharp dragon scales of Acatosaurus. The Longdan army camp was so spirited that they rushed forward one after another. However, armor demons were armor demons after all. Additionally, the number of armor demons here was far more than that in Fiery Moon City. In the night, heavy weapons danced in the air. Soon, some soldiers of the Longdan army camp were killed. Many people's heads were directly smashed. The battlefield was chaotic. There might be attacks from all directions. Even a powerhouse might not be able to keep his eyes open. The Spear Cavalry Battalion constantly charged forward and separated the crowd of armor demons. Qin Yen led the ordinary heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp to charge forward. Many people took out their bows and arrows and constantly shot armor demons with white diamond arrows. A group of people surrounded an armor demon, shooting arrows and stabbing weapons, which was a bit insane. After almost 1 hour, the resistance of armor demons became weaker and weaker. Finally, only the soldiers of the Longdan army camp could be seen galloping back and forth on the battlefield. Since Wei Chou served as the deputy commander of the Longdan army camp, he had been diligent in training soldiers. He was also very keen on learning military tactics. Therefore, he practiced the movement tactics of the heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp by constantly cutting and charging to separate the opponents. It was very effective for armor demons. Some armor demons even had great strength. However, facing the constantly moving and charging heavy cavalries, they couldn't even defeat one of them. In the end, they were already covered with scars. After a short while, the battle came to an end. The city gate had been opened by Qin Yen. Bang! When the heavy iron gate was opened, Zhang Tai saw the flickering torches in the city. They were the commoners in Star Ceaseless City. All the armor demons had come out. However, these commoners came to open the gate on their own initiative. Clean up the battlefield. Lin Muyu carried the pear blossom spear that was covered in blood and slowly entered the city. Both sides of the road were filled with the commoners of Star Ceaseless City. Many of them had fear on their faces, while some had joy on their faces. After Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou and the rest into the city, an old man wearing a black robe brought a group of commoners and surrounded them. He said respectfully, "This old man pays his respects to the general." "You are?" Lin Muyu did not know this person. The old man cupped his fists and said respectfully, "This old man is the governor of Star Ceaseless City, Huang Lin. My lord, there's no need to bow." Lin Muyu raised her hand and the pressure of the sacred region rose, lifting up the old man's bowing body. She said with a smile, "After we came to Lingnan, many people were afraid of us. Why is the governor not afraid of us, the soldiers of the empire?" A trace of a smile appeared on Huang Lin's old face as he said, "This old man is an official of Star Ceaseless City. I only wish for the commoners of Star Ceaseless City to live and work in peace. When the demon race came, we were massacred. The Iha country and Earl Shiyang both gave up Star Ceaseless City. They did not even send a single soldier and just watched as our city was massacred." As he spoke, the old man's eyes turned red and he said, "My lord, I also know how powerful the demon army is. After such a long time, only my lord's army came to this fallen land to fight the armor demon army." Lin Muyu felt guilty and couldn't help but smile, saying, "The armor demons are the common enemy of humanity. Whether it is the empire or the Iha country, they should use their lives to defend the homeland of humanity." "My lord, don't you think so?" The old man said gratefully, "My lord is right. As long as my lord is willing to defend Star Ceaseless City, this old man is willing to mobilize the 100,000 commoners of Star Ceaseless City to follow my lord to the death. We will contribute money and strength to your army without hesitation." Good. Lin Muyu got off the horse and held the old man's arms, saying, "The armored demons may come at any time. The Empire's warriors behind me need to enter the city to rest. The rain is so heavy, so please arrange accommodation and food for us. Also, we need to prepare fodder for the war horses. Don't worry, I will definitely defend Star Ceaseless City and advance and retreat together with you." This old man obeys. "Thank you, my lord. I will do it right away." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and turned around to bring Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi and the rest into the city. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, almost making people unable to hear their voices. Wei Chou followed closely behind Lin Muyu and said, "Commander, are we really going to guard Star Ceaseless City? Also, did we come here to fight with the demon race? Why are you lying to this old man?" Lin Muyu raised her face and allowed the rain to pour on her face. Not long later, she lowered her head and said with a smile, "This world is full of lies. If you don't whitewash yourself as pure and holy as a white lotus, who will work for you?" Wei Chou was startled and smiled. He cupped his fists and said, "Commander is wise. This subordinate understands. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.